Recording start. Okay, so as usual, guys, I just have a few announcements before we dive right into today's mission. I did want to say that we have a brand new player joining us today, who we will be meeting shortly. Um, Ensign Monday is still very much on a sabbatical of sorts, so no word yet about if he'll be rejoining us, but fingers crossed. Another thing is that, as you probably know, Nilan will be joining us a little late, so we'll just kind of roll him into the adventure whenever he gets here. The other thing is just kind of a, for your sanity and my sanity kind of thing, is my dog appears to be slightly sick, so if I've got to do a few extra breaks with the session, just, you know, have I would say use the time to contemplate the stuff that's going to happen in the adventure, because this particular adventure is going to be probably a lot more RP and a lot less rolling, depending on how things go. So I think it'll be good. But unless anyone has any announcements of their own, I think we're ready for the captain's log.
Okay. Captain's log, stardate 48556.3. After a brief return to Narendra Station, whereat I met with Admiral Haru, the Department of Temporal Investigations, and picked up Arcadia's newest executive officer, Commander Crowley. Thankfully, the Department of Temporal Investigations does not believe any harm has been done, and with great consideration, I have rescinded Chief Hylong's and Lieutenant Maddox's reprimands. Aside from the collection of scientific data, our return back to the Shackleton Expanse has been without note. However, we have recently encountered a sector with some major electromagnetic eddies. Lieutenant Maddox has recommended we proceed at impulse speeds in order not to fry Arcadia's key systems.
Very good. So before I give you guys an open floor to RP, I did want to read a little bit further. So Sector 74 Gamma is, for all intents and purposes, this giant collection of electromagnetic eddies and other such disturbances. The Arcadia is, as the captain said, currently proceeding through it at impulse, scanning all the while. So far, nothing really has come up on the sensors. It's pretty smooth and silent sailing at this point. But that gives you guys plenty of time to get to know your new XO. And the floor is yours.
So, how long have I been aboard the ship now? Just the last couple of days?
I would say it's probably been somewhere between 5 days to 2 weeks, whichever you would think is more thematically appropriate.
Alright. Yeah, the first thing I do is, I get aboard the vessel, of course, and I, start going to the department's head before the senior staff. Just try and get reports on all the different departments, just try and get a grasp on everything and get set up. And over the course of the next couple of days, I slowly make my rounds, meeting everyone. Not sure who to start with first, actually. Besides the captain, of course.
I gotcha. So we'll say that it's very easy for you to get reports from the department heads, as the Arcadia, being a Nova class, very small ship. There's only about 80 people on board, so you only have to talk to but so many people to get what you need.
Right.
I think the major NPCs you would note are Sergeant Ujesa, your Klingon exchange officer. As she no longer needs to fill the second officer's chair, she's returned to her duty as both tactical and comms officer. Another NPC of note is Chief Hylong. She's more or less in charge of the science department whenever Rochelle isn't. And then the other one you'd be familiar with, I would say, is Chief Otis, the Andorian quartermaster of sorts, since you more or less are taking over his job as the XO.
Okay.
You guys still have Otis aboard. He's just been reassigned to different duties, kind of a thing. But to make things easier on you, Crowley, at the moment, I would say everyone who's on the current page is there. So Nalan's there, even though he's not here as the player. Maddox there watching the engineering station on the bridge, and you're pretty much seated right next to the captain.
I look at everyone there and look to the captain. Like, everything seems to be going smoothly right now, Captain. If you're okay with it, I want to try and make some rounds, and just to integrate with the crew a little bit better.
I think it's an excellent idea. Permission granted.
Thank you. I stand up and I will go visit. So Nilan's not there and Monday's not here.
Mm-hmm.
I will go visit Sergeant. How do you say her name again?
Ujesa. We butcher it all the time. It's either Ujesa or I actually forget the other pronunciation, but it'll come up.
I'll go talk to her, Ujesa.
Mm-hmm. So she turns in her chair a little bit and says, "Commander, what can I do for you?"
I just try and get to know the crew a little bit better here. Tell me about your position.
Well,
And
I have served aboard this vessel as a Klingon exchange officer for close to 2 years now. I perform my duties as both communications and tactical. It has been both an honor and a pleasure serving aboard such a fine Federation vessel.
it's definitely I've never had seen any reports of the exchange program lasting as long as this. As far as I understand, it's a permanent posting now.
Correct. That was made at the request of the Arcadia's previous captain, and the Klingon High Command approved it, as the Arcadia is in the Shackleton Expanse and could benefit from having a Klingon officer aboard.
Excellent. Tell me, what's your feeling of the crew of the ship? How does everyone
So
feel?
Ujesa kind of looks around the bridge a little bit, almost as if to kind of gauge how she should say this. And she lowers her voice just a little bit, but I think, the bridge being what it is, you all would still hear it. She says, "So far they have proven themselves in battle many times, and I would gladly lay down my lives for any of them."
That's good to hear. I just want to kind of look around the room as she's saying that. Can I get a feel of how everyone's feeling about this?
Sure, how's everyone reacting to this?
I'm having a little trouble hearing. What are we reacting to or not reacting to?
Ujesa, she's basically just said that she's willing to lay down her life for any member of the crew, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's pretty normal to me. At this point, she has my trust. She's a fine and capable officer.
Okay. So I think it's probably safe to say that the captain's pretty much ambivalent.
Alright. I was looking, I was like, well, I've gone over the personal records of everyone here slightly just to get a quick feel. I have noted that you have a sparring program for hand-to-hand combat.
Oh, that I do, sir. But if I may be so bold, and she points over at Rochelle, I think that you will find that Rochelle's program is also more than adequate. Or if you would prefer to, as you humans would call it, playing fantasy, I know that the captain has an excellent program as well.
Humans do have an interesting sayings about different things. I'm more interested in actually wanting to test the training I have against Klingon hand-to-hand. Whenever you feel you're up for the challenge.
Whenever I'm up for the challenge, well, she turns to the captain. Captain, if you do not need me, I would like to take Commander Crowley down and spar with him when my duty shift is over.
Well, it looks like that duty shift's over fairly soon. Anyways, if you'd like to leave now, you may.
She thinks about it for a few seconds and says, No, I will finish out my duty shift. It is only fair to the rest of the bridge crew.
That's your prerogative.
All right. Thank you, Captain. I'm going to find this very exciting to try out Krav Maga against Klingon styles. I'll go back to my seat and sit down and just look at everyone else there and just like, he's a little on the cautious side of talking to everyone right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just he wants to watch everyone interact first, and he wants people to interact with him maybe first as well, just to try and gauge everyone.
Okay.
So
What
I am curious, and this isn't necessarily a role playing thing, but I would have read your record by this point. So I'm curious a little bit about what Commander Crowley's service history is.
Oh, okay. Let me go pull it up actually, because I have it written down.
I actually was gonna bring that right up, so good timing.
Here, there's a document. So, Crowley has a pretty fast track record. He was always first in his class for trying to be the one that would take responsibility or take charge. Here, he has served on a few ships actually. Let's try to find where the start is here. The first ship he served on was a touring ship, of course, for new Starfleet cadets who just graduated, the USS Ferguson. And within a couple of years, he was transferred to the USS Ignis. And throughout his file, they used to see that he was promoted, not faster than the fastest person in Starfleet history, but he was promoted within the minimum. And he was ended up transferred to the USS Donager. That was the ship he had the longest serving on. It was also the ship that he lost due to Wolf 359. He was on that vessel when it was declared lost. He spent the last few years in recovery for a couple of serious injuries he had attained. This is his actually first posting as a commander and an XO.
And another thing, just so, again, I forgot to have you do this, what species is Crowley?
Oh, Crowley is an interesting mix. He is a Betazoid Vulcan. He has the pointed ears and the black eyes. But he's made a couple of smiles at people and stuff like that, so he's not the typical Vulcan hybrid, which would try to go through the Kalinar to suppress their emotions. He seems to have emotions that he's perfectly fine showing off.
And you are an empath, not a telepath, correct?
Yes, he's empathic.
Okay, good to know. I believe Lieutenant Commander Nilan is also empathic. Oh, no, wait, he is telepathic. So, slight difference.
Nice.
I will note, and you would have figured this out by now, because what do we say? We're about a week, 2 weeks in?
Yeah, something like that.
The armory officer, Otis, was also a survivor of Wolf 359.
Okay.
And so I imagine... Well, as a captain, I'm not going to push that the two of you have a relationship, but I would suggest that if you ever do need to talk about that, Otis is someone on board who has had that experience as well.
So if you're mentioning this to him about talking about Wolf 359, you see him. He's taking his left hand and he's slowly rubbing his right hand thumb into his palm of his left hand. Just nod. He's like, yep.
Sure, and this would have been in private, but I don't press the issue.
All right. So, as this all goes on, Rochelle, your console is suddenly beeping at you.
Is it beeping for any particular reason?
Well, as you go to see what's causing the alert, you're going to see that the Arcadia has picked up that there is an incoming warp signature. And that said signature doesn't match any species on record. So you know how like the Romulans have, because of their singularity, they have a specific signature, and that Federation has specific signatures. Like this is something entirely new. To technobab a little bit, it's tricyclic in nature. You also know that this incoming signature belongs to a starship currently traveling at Warp 1, and there are signs that it's coming to a stop somewhat nearby.
Captain, there's a vessel coming out of warp nearby. It does have a tricyclic warp signature, which I'm not familiar with.
All right, full stop, and let's get ready for standard diplomatic greetings.
Okay, so Monday says, "Aye, sir," and he taps at the console and brings the Arcadia to station keeping. And probably about 5 minutes pass before Richaud would see the vessel properly coming out of warp.
Bring it up on screen.
All right. So the view screen kind of shifts and zooms in on a section of space. And right on cue, a strange ship deaccelerates from warp right onto the view screen. The vessel itself is not much larger than the one Zephram Cochrane used to first break the warp barrier. But what sets this particular vessel apart is the fact that it appears to be almost entirely organic. You'd have to take a more thorough reading to be sure, but you pretty much think it's very much an alive creature or being of some sort. In addition, if it wasn't immediately obvious, the hull configuration is entirely unknown to any of you and to the Arcadia's databanks. And I actually have a picture for this. Show to players. So that's kind of what the ship looks like.
Ooh.
Trippy.
Shall I scan the vessel, Captain?
Yes.
Okay. That will be we'll say a control plus science at, we'll call it a difficulty 2.
Is that before or after the sensor knockdown of the difficulty?
This would be before, so it would only be a difficulty 1. Good call.
Thanks for catching that.
All right, so you get a momentum. Good start.
And 2 momentum. One of them to be used for asking questions. Okay, so my question is going to be, are there any life signs aboard the ship itself?
Okay.
Other than, if it's organic, its life sign.
So, initially when you scan the ship, I would say that you're getting more that the ship itself is about as alive as a tree is. Like, you're not registering...
So very much so.
Yeah, you're not registering, like, a specific, like, neural pattern or anything. But you also do detect a humanoid life form in what you're assuming is the bridge or the cockpit of the vessel.
Captain, I'm detecting 2 life signs. One, which I believe is the ship itself, and another more corresponding to what I would suspect to be a humanoid aboard the ship.
This is reminding me a lot of your of Earth's Phoenix with Zephram Cochrane. This could possibly be their first warp.
They're going slow enough.
Let's attempt to communication.
While they're doing that, I want to look at the system star map like they were in.
Mm-hmm.
What planets are nearby?
So, this sector has actually not been charted before, so you have no idea.
Alright.
So, yeah. Do you have Ujesa open up a comm link, or...
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Okay. So, Ujesa, taps at her own console for a bit, then turns and says, I am unable to establish a visual link. Audio only, sir.
Okay.
And you hear the appropriate chime as the computer registers that a channel has been opened.
Unknown vessel. This is Captain Tahan of the Federation Starship Nova. We come in peace as an exploratory science vessel, and we would like to establish communication with you. Could you please identify yourself?
You meant the USS Arcadia, right?
What did I say? No, I said Nova.
Yeah, just making
Yeah.
sure. I don't know. You've done it a few times, and I'm starting to wonder if it's like a deliberate thing where you try to mislead them a little bit. So
No, I'm just space-headed
it's okay.
in real life.
It's perfectly okay. So I'm gonna do a small snippet of the voice here, but I can't really keep it for long without totally killing my regular voice. So when I drop it, you want to imagine this sort of raspy, almost slithery sounding voice. And after a moment, as this, message from the captain, transmits over the airwaves, the vessel responds, and the voice says, "This is the Anthusian ship Bilboa. I am Chief Scientist Rusa."
Can I check the database for any record of Anthusians?
Sure. I'll do another roll because you could use the momentum. This would be a reason plus science. We'll call it a difficulty 1.
Is my computer's focus going to be applicable?
Yeah, I'll allow it.
Cool. There you go.
There you go. You get 2 more momentum. So yeah.
Sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
the pause there made me forget the name already because I'm the worst. What was the pilot's name?
Rusa, and I will type out each in chat. So
Okay.
she's Anthusian, and her name is Rusa. So returning to Rochelle, you do a full database search, and there's absolutely nothing on record. This is very much a first contact scenario.
Okay.
Can I signal to Ujesa to mute the comm just long enough for me to communicate that to the rest of the bridge?
Ouch, you certainly can.
Okay, I will do so.
Okay, she cuts it or mutes it for a moment.
Captain, I just checked their database. There's no record of any contact with any Anthusians in the Starfleet database.
Okay. Resume comm.
All right. So it chimes. Channel's open again.
Captain Rusa, I believe this is the first contact between our two peoples. If you would like, I would invite you aboard my ship so that we may meet face to face.
There's a pause and it starts to get to the point where you're wondering if she heard you, and then she says, "While I would like to see this vessel of yours, I am expected back at my planet within the hour, and I must return immediately, but you are welcome to follow me back to my planet."
Signal for the comms off again.
Okay.
Commander, Counselor, do you sense any hostile intent?
So Nalan kind of turns from his chair and says, "I'm not detecting any, sir. It seems as if she's actually rather curious, like we all are."
Okay.
I feel that too.
Yeah, you would feel the same thing.
Like, yeah. I do recommend that we send a message to Starfleet just to let them know our position and our contact, just in case.
Yes, make it so, and then we will follow her.
Okay.
So, resume communication.
All right. Chimes again.
Captain Rusa, that sounds like an excellent idea. If you'd like to send us the coordinates, or we will follow behind.
Excellent. Transmitting the coordinates now. And Ujesa turns and nods and says, "I have them, Captain."
Thank you. We look forward to meeting you.
And then the channel closes. So it's probably about this point that I guess Ujasa would be the one to bring this up. So Ujasa kind of turns and says, This would be the first time that I have been on board a Federation vessel undergoing first contact, but the Klingon Empire has no knowledge of these Anthusians as well.
I take it that means you would also like a seat at the table, as it were.
That would be appropriate, I believe.
In the spirit of the exchange program, I agree.
Thank you, sir. And Ujasa also forwards the coordinates both to Monday and to Rochelle for review. But unless any of you do anything to stop Rusa's got words hard. Anyone to stop the Enthusian ship from turning around and beginning a leisurely warp 1 back to her home planet, we're going to skip ahead just a tiny bit.
I do want to ask one question.
Okay.
Lieutenant Maddock, will proceeding at warp 1 put the ship in any danger? I know you recommended we use impulse speeds in this sector.
As far as I could tell, if we stay away from some of the major eddies, we should be fine. So we may need to not exactly follow her in a straight line. There's possibly something about her ship, maybe the organic compounds of it, that allow it to maybe resist some more of the eddies. Rochelle, if you could just send me the scans, I could probably take a look and try to run some numbers.
Rochelle will forward that information over to Maddox Station.
All right. So, Maddox, you're looking at the coordinates and the small amount of scan data that Rusa also sent. And from the looks of it, it seems that her home planet is kind of hidden in the eye of the storm, so to speak. It's so well hidden behind these eddies that had you not been given the coordinates to the planet or the system, you would have likely missed it entirely.
Captain, now that I'm looking at these coordinates, her planet's in the eye of the storm. We may be able to get close, but there's no way we could do warp 1 all the way there.
All right. We'll outline a safe flight path, and we'll proceed at your based on your recommendations.
Will do, Captain.
I'd also recommend we increase structural integrity fields around the ship.
Agreed.
And can I get a copy of those scans as well? I want to see if they... Safety is thinking ahead here. Just want to make sure we're not going to get jumped by someone who could potentially damage the ship. I want to see if their vessel was capable of being a match for us.
Okay.
Forward into the commander station as well.
I'm trying to think what role to make that.
Insight security?
Yeah, I'm thinking insight plus security as well. Let's do insight plus security at difficulty 2.
Would this be assisted by the ship, though?
Yes, this would be assisted by the ship's sensors plus security.
Okay.
And I don't have a focus that would apply to this.
Okay, so we got 1 success. Can the ship get you the second one you need? It can. So I
got
think
2 more.
Yeah, you got 2 momentum. I think you guys are up to 4 or 5 now.
Should be 4.
Yeah, 4.
So yeah, the basically what you're seeing, Crowley, is that this is very much a Zephram Cochrane style ship. It's got enough juice in it to break the warp barrier, but aside from that, it doesn't have any recognizable weapons. It doesn't seem like this vessel could push even warp 2. It's a very basic, almost proof of concept ship.
Okay.
Um, let's send a message to the Enthusian ship and explain that we might follow a little behind, but we'll get there as soon as we can.
Okay. And you'll get a reply back, text only, we'll say, that says she will wait for you at the edge of her system before heading in herself. That way it doesn't appear that an alien ship just appeared above her planet, because that would probably cause a panic.
Duly noted.
I sent a quick message to Starfleet, letting them know first contact has begun. And I looked at the captain, and I didn't pack my ambassador uniform or any dignitary colors. I have to go replicate that.
All right. You'll have plenty of time.
Yep.
While we're on the way, Suliban ships used tricyclic warps as well. Can I try to compare the two to see how similar they are? To see if I might be able to pull up schematics to try to get a little leg up on knowing how their engines may be set up?
Sure. I would say this would probably be an insight plus engineering. We'll keep it at a difficulty 2.
Alien engineering technology would apply?
Definitely would.
All right.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right.
So they're very similar in basic design. And with all warp engines, there's some sort of reaction that is able to provide the power to reduce the ship's mass and basically send it into subspace for the trip through the warp. I got a little 40K there. The big difference here, without trying to, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this without spoiling too much. The big difference here is that the process is organically regulated. It does not appear to have any conventional machinery like a deuterium injector or a dilithium crystal chamber, things of that nature. It's very much an organic process, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll understand more later on.
All right. So, without any further ado, we'll say that the Arcadia and the Bilboa ship begin to head towards the home planet of the Anthusians. It's at this point that, yeah, I will whisper this now to Rochelle, because it might give you something to talk about on the way. One moment. Rochelle, what's your name in Roll20?
Kyle.
Okay.
Also real life.
Yeah, there you go. All right, there you go. That's what you would learn while you are not quite in tandem warp with this other vessel, but you guys are staying close enough that you would arrive at the system without falling too far behind, kind of a thing. But I would say it will still probably take you guys about 15 minutes to arrive at this particular star system. So is there anything anyone wanted to do in the meantime?
I was going to contact Stellar Cartography, see if their scans had been any more detailed than ours on the bridge, and find out what they know about the system.
So Chief Hylong responds. She says, well, we can tell that it's got twin stars, and there's only one planet in system. We have to get closer, but basic scans we've been able to penetrate through the eddies tell us that the planet is an M class.
What sort of radiation are those twin stars putting out? That could be dangerous.
Again, we have to get closer, but all indications seem to be that the radiation levels are acceptable.
Understood. Chief, if you don't mind, just keep an eye out, and if there's anything, out of the ordinary, just contact me, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I want to review because I know that the Orion Crime Syndicate has been active in the Shackleton Expanse, but do we know of any political powers in the Expanse as well,
I'm going
or
to.
is that still a mystery?
Yeah, I would say that's probably still a big mystery at this point. And even the Orion, kind of Orion activity has mostly been on the fringe. The few
Okay.
ships that have gone deeper into the expanse, like the Arcadia, haven't really reported that the Orion have shown up, kind of a thing.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wanting to do that, and then I'm just personally going to be reviewing some first contact procedures, but not much else. No.
Okay. Crowley and Maddock, did you want to do anything?
I do a quick brush up on first contact protocol as well, and I go get my diplomat's uniform replicated.
Okay. And Maddock.
I'll be watching the eddies, and I'll be having Alon and a couple of the other engineering personnel have them all getting ready for in case one of these eddies messes up the ship. Having engineering crews on standby, just setting up a worst case scenario kind of thing.
I gotcha. Well, the good news is that when you do drop out of warp on the edge of the system, you didn't hit any eddies along the way, so you're in the clear as far as that's concerned.
Right.
But as soon as you drop out of warp, stellar cartography will contact Rochelle once more, and Chief Hylong will say, "Sir, we have more information about the planet if you would so wish."
Yes, please.
Okay. So as a point of order, I did want to ask, do you want to put her communication so the whole bridge can hear, or do you want to still just keep it to yourself?
No, I'll open it up for the entire bridge.
Okay. So Chief Hylong goes on to say, well, this Class M planet has near Earth gravity and a slightly faster orbit and spin, so its year and its day are shorter. It's about 40% land and about 60% water, with 4 large distinct continents and 4 large oceans. Our scans here indicate that most of the populace is gathered around the poles of the planet, as the land masses towards the equator are arid deserts. The poles are kind of these tropical farmlands, swamplands, and as far as we can tell, otherwise green pastures. The largest concentration of life forms is on one of the northern continents. But that's all we're detecting down here at stellar cartography at the moment, sir.
Thank you, Chief.
Captain,
Yes.
normally when we make first contact, it's after observation of their culture, if they make the warp leap, and to see if they are culturally ready to meet aliens. I think in this case, since she was particularly not alarmed by meeting us, hopefully the rest of her culture is the same. But hopefully first contact goes smoothly. But
That was my supposition as well.
Yeah. So let's keep that in mind, and I will make sure that while we are beaming down, or if they're coming up here, everything is taken care of for security-wise. My concern is possible xenophobia, and your safety, of course, and anyone else's beaming down safety.
It is possible, although she did invite us, so we can expect the worst, but let's hope for the best.
I'm always optimistic for the best, but always preparing for the worst too.
Absolutely.
And almost as if she knew you were talking about her, Ujesa reports that Rusa is hailing you guys again.
Audio only.
Mm-hmm.
All
So channel
Sure.
opens, and Rusa says, and again, I'm not going to do the voice. You basically have an idea of what they all sound like at this point, anyway. She says that the largest continent, we call it Andusia, is where I will be landing my own ship. If you would prefer to come down in your own, that is entirely up to you. I will also transmit coordinates for that eventuality.
Okay.
And Ujesa does report that, yes, she's gotten some set of coordinates.
All right. I'd like to take a shuttle down, and then let's have some transport boost.
Pattern enhancers?
Yeah. Should we expect any difficulty with transporters?
Everybody looks at Rochelle and at Matic.
Do you want me to do a roll?
Nah, the answer is no. You
Alright.
should be able to beam fine.
Okay.
All right. I'd also like to do a scan of the planet, see if I can figure out like their technology level and how well armed the different continents are.
Let's see. That's definitely going to be a science. We'll do an insight plus science. And I'm going to say we're going to make this a difficulty 4 task before the Arcadia knocks it down to 3.
Oof.
And we have 4 momentum.
Yeah, I was say you've got momentum to spare here. So the ship is going to assist with sensors plus science.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal one of those momentum.
Okay.
Is it possible that I could assist by trying to look at, helping him look at their technology level, just seeing what kind of engineering they've accomplished, see if there's other ships like the one that we just made contact with?
I'm going to say not as a roll because they literally just got 4 successes.
I'm also gonna re-roll that 18 as soon as I can.
Why not?
In before complication.
Oh no. That's not likely.
All right, no complication. That's what matters.
How much momentum did that generate? 1?
Yes, you got the momentum back.
Did it generate 1? Because that's still only 4 successes. Oh, right, we reduced difficulty because of the ship. All right.
And then your ability gives you another 1, but only for questions.
Yeah, only for questions. So, yeah, so I was going to ask about the technology to start with, and then based on that, I might ask a different question as well.
Okay. So we'll say that you collaborate with Matic on this, and so both you and Matic would be able to figure this kind of thing out. They appear to be at the same technology level as, again, I keep using his name, Cochrane. You know, when Cochrane was, leading his first space flight.
He cast a long shadow.
Yeah. The Earth was still very much recovering from a war, a very important war. That's not the case here. Like, you're not detecting any, like, residual, like, radiogenic weapons or anything of that nature. But you are detecting that same kind of technology level that would be consistent with a civilization that are on the cusp of warp travel. So you are getting readings of nuclear fusion power plants or something close to it. You are able to get a few readings on some smaller organic life forms, which you're guessing are what they're using for vehicles, shuttles, or things of that nature. They don't have any stations in orbit, save for I would say probably about like an ISS, the International Space Station sized creature. And they don't really seem to have either noticed you come in system, or they simply don't have the sensors to detect you, kind of a thing.
Okay. And just passively scanning, I assume I'm going to be trying to pick up any media transmissions that they're beaming as well. Am I able to tell if they have a one world government or multiple different countries at this point?
I'll say we'll do this without a roll. In your brief listening to their media, what you're able to pick up, you gather that they have some form of a president, but you're not really sure what the actual breakdown is when you land on a continent might be.
All right, I'll communicate that to the rest of the bridge as well.
Okay. Well, I'd like to get an away team. Ensign Monday, I'll need you to pilot a shuttle, and then I'd like to take Rochelle, Ujesa, and Matic along with me.
So
Commander Crowley, you'll have the bridge. And I would also take Neelan for when he gets here.
all right, so let me get all the characters on there. So you wanted Rochelle, yourself, Ujesa. Where is she? There she is. And then who else did you want? Milan. You wanted Milan for when he's here.
Yeah. And Monday.
And Monday. Okay.
And then since Commander Crawley will have the bridge, if you would like to take a supporting character.
Yeah, I was to say, so Crowley, you could make the argument that you want to come along anyway. I mean, it's entirely up to you, but you have the pick of supporting characters that you could choose to take as well. Mm-hmm. I would recommend probably either Jero Los or Manteau Rouge, simply because they are good security officers that really don't have a whole lot of flavoring to them at the moment, so you can basically flavor them however you'd like.
Okay. I will go with Manteau Rouge.
Okay, the Cation. Good choice. All right, that's the 5 of you. All right, or 6 of you. Okay. So the 6 of you begin heading to the. Matic. Since Matic isn't going, Matic, did you want to take a supporting character, or unless you wanted to bring Matic with you? Up to you.
I thought Captain said he wanted me to go.
I might have missed you.
Oh well.
I don't know. Did you want Matic or no?
Yeah, I like Matic.
All right, Matic's coming along too.
He's an amiable fellow.
I was going to speak up and be like, Captain, the commander could go down. There's some engineering stuff that does need to be taken care of, and I'm not exactly the most friendly person, so I don't know if I'd make a good representative per se, sir.
Understandable. However, your evaluation of their culture technologically would be very useful to me. And I know Rochelle could do that, but as chief engineer, I do value your input there greatly.
Sir, consider what I said withdrawn.
Okay.
All right. So, what happens here is that Rusa's ship begins to descend towards the planet and enter atmosphere and basically land on the planet. And at the same time, the 7 of you now kind of cram into. Well, actually, I'm going to do Monday a solid here. Is that as Monday kind of looks around at the big group, he says, "Captain, if this really might be a good time for the Wave Rider."
All right.
Wait, you said yes, sir. Right away, sir. And he immediately gleefully leads you guys to the Wave Rider shuttle.
Sorry, can I interject? Yes. I just want to do one more thing before we go down.
Sure.
Those scans that the scan information that you whispered to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to transmit that down to stellar cartography and Hailong, and ask her to run some simulations based on whether or not we can reproduce those signals and how that might affect our travel through the eddies.
Okay. She will certainly be glad to do so for you.
Great. Thank
It'll
you.
just take a few hours for her to run such things.
I am so in the dark and I love it.
As the captain and the away team leave the bridge, Commander Crowley gets up and he just looks at the captain's seat, and he goes off to one of the stations to look at just scans and interact with the current bridge crew.
Okay, very good. Unfortunately, I don't have names for the glorified red shirts that come to fill everyone's position. But if you decide to talk to one in particular, every once in a while I'll cut back to the ship. Just let me know. We can give him a name. We can give him some life, that kind of thing.
All right.
Unless anyone has anything else, we will cut to the Wave Rider being dropped from the underside of the Arcadia. And, we've got Nalan. Hey, Nalan,
Hey.
you're here.
Yeah.
So maybe I should back up a little bit. Did anyone want to fill in Nalan, or should I?
Take it away, Game Master. Or Matic.
Yeah, or Matic.
Okay, I guess I'll try.
Okay.
We made first contact. All their ships typically seem to be organic. Bunch of electromagnetic eddies that we're having to deal with, so we really can't go to warp.
Oh. Hold on. I'm just going to turn off my printer because it just decided to print for some reason. Okay, continue.
We're now at a planet. It's the Anthusians. We made contact with a chief scientist by the name of Russa. In my mind, the way that they sound, they're probably reptilian of some sort. They have a lot of extenuations on like the S's and stuff like that. Kind of like the Gorn, but they seem a lot friendlier than the Gorn. Their planet has 2 stars, and we're about to go visit and make first contact. So, be nice.
All right, cool.
I would also mention that they're at just at the beginning of warp technology. Like, this is like Zephram Cothram era technology.
Okay.
Also, whenever Matic does like leave the bridge for away missions, I would like to have a Lon take his spot, so that way it's kind of like the guy who's been the engineer on the ship for the longest is now. Yeah, so
Makes sense.
First contact protocols. Are we expected to leave our phasers behind, or maybe just have the type 1s?
That is entirely up to you as the captain, as far as I've been able to find. Obviously, Starfleet recommends that you leave your weapons behind, but it is your judgment call as a captain leading the away mission whether or not you do bring any.
I'm gonna recommend we don't bring any, and then if trouble happens, we can transport up.
Captain, can Sergeant Ujesa and myself at least bring our knives just in case?
Ujesa kind of looks at everyone like, "You're not taking my knife."
I'd rather we go down unarmed. We're here in peace. I'd like to show that.
Are we gonna have phasers available on the shuttle, or are we going down completely unarmed?
Let's have some 2 phasers on the shuttle, but leave them there in a secure location, locked up.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Should I bring an engineering toolkit just in case I'm able to go look at some of their stuff?
I think that would be prudent, and I assume there's like a first aid kit just part of the shuttle complement as well.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay. Because we're not bringing down a medical officer.
All right. So as I was saying, Ujesa lets out a very loud sigh and begins pulling out numerous bladed weapons and just setting them, down in the little space that is, it's like a glorified cubby before the Wave Rider. And she's like, I expect all of these to be here when I get back.
I like to imagine that with each successive blade, she's putting it down with slightly more force, so making slightly louder noise. Every blade, disruptor pistol, everything that goes down.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Just don't stretch the console.
I'm also imagining that whatever security officers like she's handing everything to, or like whoever she's handing it to, just happens to know a little bit about Klingon culture, and is like, okay, what about the one that's here? What about this one? What about this one?
Don't forget the one that's in the toe of the boot.
Oh, wait, I can do this with great flavor. So it happens to be, for all intents and purposes, Hailong is the one doing this.
Oh no.
So Hailong is giving her the most shit possible. And Crowley, just to give you kind of a perspective here, there is this huge rivalry, I can speak words, between Klingons and Hailong's race. So they're very antagonistic towards one another. But yeah,
On a pad.
Serto Draco, by the way, that's the name of the race.
yep, Serata Dracos.
Serata Draco, that's it.
And we butcher the name 6 Ways to Sunday, so as long as it's close, that's what matters.
Besides, like, our player names, are there any names that we haven't butchered?
No, we've even butchered those.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we've all butchered pretty much everything.
I think we all get Monday right.
Yeah, we did get Monday right.
Yeah, never mess up Ensamunde.
All right. So, Monday is able to get the Wave Rider away from the Arcadia and headed down to the planet without any trouble whatsoever. This will be a new scene, just so you guys know. And I will put you guys on this map. And I'll zoom in a little bit on the Roll20.
Wow.
So, the descent through the atmosphere is pretty simple. There's not a whole lot of turbulence, and you're not sure if it's simply because of of Monday's piloting skills, or if just the atmosphere is not naturally turbulent. But you eventually break the cloud layer, and you see basically these grand, sweeping, flowing organic shapes, which you realize are cities and buildings. And all of them are kind of tightly packed together with these curving streets that basically bifurcate and otherwise, define the barrier between building and greenery. And speaking of greenery, there's a lot of it. There's these extensive parks, there's lots of courtyards, and the coordinates you were given happen to be in one of these larger open areas. I would say probably about the size of 2 football fields placed next to one another. So it's a big space.
All right. When we land, I'd just like to get confirmation that we still have signal back to the ship.
You do?
Okay. That's all I need.
Is there any other species that Starfleet's made contact with that has the organic type of situation that this planet has, or no?
To my knowledge, no. Well, I say no, but as you'll learn, there is a species in Voyager that they make contact with, which is a similar level of technology. But since, Voyager doesn't report back to the Alpha Quadrant for many years, you would have no idea. But yeah. We'll say that you do get confirmation that Rusa's ship landed before yours. So when you do land in this open area, there is her ship as well. And Monday sets her down nice and gently, and he turns around and says, "It's been a pleasure flying for you, gentlemen. Best of luck with whatever might be waiting beyond that door. I'm gonna stay here unless you need me, Captain."
No, please do, and just in case, try to keep a transporter lock on us.
Aye, sir. So yeah, you go to open the shuttlecraft door, and almost immediately you are all hit by this sweet scent of some alien fragrance. It kind of reminds you of a rose mixed with a tulip, mixed with what might be raspberries. As I said, you noted coming in. Now that you're able to see the buildings around you, kind of at a ground level, you can see that some are beautifully carved from what look to be giant trees. Others look to be this sort of ceramic-like material. It's a very whimsical looking space. But probably what's more important and relevant to you in the immediate moment is the fact that there's 4 Anthusians waiting for you. 2 of them are in ceramic-like armored suits that match the same sort of bioengineering as Rusa's ship. And I actually have another handout just prepared for this. And that is here. So, that's what the armor looks like, and there's 2 of them.
Ooh.
Question: are we in dress uniform?
That is entirely up to you. Are you in dress uniform?
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Okay.
Which at this point is still it's basically just the TNG uniform, but the longer one with the gold piping. Okay.
Yeah,
and the floating orbs around them.
Yes. Those are present as well.
Okay. Are those also like ceramic?
They look to be more of a... How do I want to say this?
They're eyeballs.
Yeah, they're kind of like eyeballs, really.
Ooh.
Ew, gross.
Cool.
1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like they have 6 eyes on their face, and then those 2 floating ones. Oh, okay.
Well, so there's 2 individuals in such armor. They are wielding black metal rifles that kind of have this glowing green interior. They're obviously not pointed at you, so no worries there. But they are very much armed in the sense that, they both probably want to make sure you're not going to be trouble and won't get into any trouble, kind of a thing.
Sure.
The other 2 aliens that are present, for lack of a better descriptor, they're kind of like plant people. They're humanoid in shape, and they have some resemblance to Vulcans when it comes to body shape. However, their skin are a wide variety of these vibrant hues. For example, one of them is almost like a deep purple kind of a thing. And their hair matches their skin color. And on closer inspection, you realize that this hair that they have, and I put that in quotation marks, is actually this wild tangle of fibers that looks like hair, kind of a thing. And a final thing of note before I describe the non-armored Anthusians is that as a species, they seem to be kind of small. The 2 in front of you aren't above 5'2", but just looking around at the few Anthusians that happen to be also present in this space, it doesn't look like any of them are above 5'4". So they're rather short people. So as I was saying, one of the Anthusians is a purple-skinned individual. She appears to be female based on her characteristics. She's adorned in a purple jumpsuit that is just slightly off hue of her own, so it looks pretty good. Her hair kind of reminds you of a standard bob cut, though it's permeated by these long vines that terminate in these glowing bulbs. The other Enthusian is a male and clad in what you're guessing is what passes for finery for them. It's this elegant sort of white cloth suit that accents the man's naturally turquoise skin. He steps forward and proclaims rather nervously, I am Aoki, the person in charge of this district. On behalf of the Enthusian people, I'd like to welcome you to Hayaka.
I am Captain Tahan of the United Federation of Planets. My ship is the Arcadia. It is a pleasure to be welcomed. Among our people is a gesture when meeting someone to clasp hands, and I'll extend mine.
He looks at it inquisitively for a moment, but then, very gingerly reaches out and clasps hands with you.
And I'll just give it one firm shake and take it back. Is this your first contact with an alien species?
Wow. And, he says, and then the woman, and you'll recognize her as Rusa from her voice, and she will say, well, yes, this is a momentous day. Not only have we managed to achieve warp flight, but we've also found our first aliens. Or rather, they have found us, as it may seem to be the case.
Well, we found each other. As you can see, there are many. My people are of many worlds, as it might be obvious by our appearance. We consider it particularly fortunate that we came across you as scientists. Typically, when we make first contact with other cultures, it's the scientists that are most readily welcoming of us.
Rusa will smile, and you see that her jawline, to borrow from Halo, if you've ever seen, how the elite mouths kind of like split into four, there's something very similar to that going on with Enthusians. She'll smile, and basically it's a little unnerving. It's like watching a shark smile at you, but the Betazoids among you would know that it's definitely not a smile of malcontent or of malice. And she'll continue to say, well, we as Enthusians always knew that there must be aliens out there, as we ourselves are transplants to this planet. But this is the first time actually confirming those theories.
This is not your native world.
Yes, that is correct. Our ancestors, over 100 generations ago, were transplanted here by a force which some of our people revere as a god. But as time went on, we learned to view such scripture and such stories as just that, stories.
We couldn't help but notice that your technology had an organic nature to it.
Well, yes. And before she continues, Aoki kind of cuts across and says, perhaps it would be best if we walked and talked. Not to spirit you along, but it would be best if I took you to my office so that you weren't out in the open for too long.
Would there be a health risk to doing so?
I don't think so. I just worry that even though we as a species are somewhat okay with the idea of aliens, I just think it's safer for you.
Okay, please lead the way.
All right. He nods and he motions to the two guards, and they more or less flank both of you, both the party and the two Enthusians and walk with you guys, in a direction, kind of a thing. And as you walk and talk, Rusa resumes what she was saying before and says, "Yes, we are extremely adept at bioengineering. Everything from our basic tools to our vehicles and, well, even our starships. The all one of them are grown and otherwise, um, I guess the word would be manufactured."
Well, I must say that is not something that we do, and we are quite curious. But um, personally, I am fascinated, and so far your world is quite beautiful. If I do say so myself.
Oh, well, I'm glad you like it. And then she looks to Aoki, and Aoki's just trying. It's almost like he's trying not to have a nervous breakdown, kind of a thing. And Rusa kind of takes the initiative here and says, "Well, I think we can maybe swing a small tour on the way to your office." And Naoki kind of says, "Sure, fine, whatever." And Rusa smiles and says, "Very good. If you'll come this way." And she begins to show you different walks of life in an Enthusian city. So along the way, you're going to see things such as artists, which are both sculpting kind of like a bonsai tree kind of thing. Like there's all sorts of bio sculpting going on that you're seeing. So you see artists, you see some basic social interaction. One thing that you all will note without needing to roll for it is that all of the Anthusians seem to be, for lack of a better term, they seem to be very professional. Everything that they seem to be doing is very clear cut and very to the point. Like, it doesn't seem like they are wasting any time, if that makes any sense. But of note, you do see evidence of further bioengineering. Even like their groundskeeping materials are made of the same kind of bioorganic material that the ship and the armor is made out of.
While Maddox's looking around, I guess he's trying to watch to see if this isn't like a setup per se. Like if these people are, like if it seems like these people are actually the way that they are, or or is this like a bunch of actors who they're trying to show like
North Korea?
what? Yeah.
Okay. It's a fair question.
Trying to say that without really saying that.
It's okay. I don't think we have any North Korean viewers. I think I can say that.
Never know. You never know.
But if we do, you're welcome. We love you. You're great.
Let's see. What role would that be? I would say that would probably be an insight plus security role. We'll call it a difficulty 2.
I ain't got nothing for it. Insight security. No focuses.
So even with the 1 success, I'm going to say that, I mean, you're not an empath, so you're not 100% sure, but you're not seeing, like, any cracks in the mirror, so to say. Like, if you, for example, try to, go off on a side road, you're not immediately shepherded back with the group. Obviously, one of the guards just does kind of peel off and walk with you, but it doesn't seem like you are being led along a tour space.
Okay, so so it doesn't look staged.
No.
Okay.
What kind of reaction do we draw, like walking through the civilian areas?
So most of the Enthusians kind of look at you and your strange grouping of human, Betazoid, Cation, and Klingon, and they sort of just go a little bit wide-eyed, but they mostly just talk in whispers about you. Like you don't have the good news is you don't have like people running away in a panic. There are no angry mobs calling for your heads. Nothing like that. So it's almost and for the Betazoid in the party, Milan, you're picking up that there is an overwhelming sense of curiosity and wonder from these individuals you're passing.
Okay. Cool.
Does this seem like it's more of a science and the arts kind of society, or does it seem that it could be somewhat militaristic besides the two guys with armor that are with us, obviously?
I would say based on what you're seeing, it would be the former.
Okay, so the science and artistic more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Course,
is there anyone armed?
Besides the guards with you?
Yeah.
I'm going to say that there are not, or at least none that you see.
Periodically, as we're walking, I think it'd be fun to get some scans with my tricorder.
Okay. Just you, or do you have the entire away party do your scans?
This is mostly a personal curiosity. I don't
Okay.
order everyone to make scans.
Okay. Roll me a insight plus science at a difficulty of 3.
Okay.
Are the electromagnetic eddies, are they present like in the planet and on the atmosphere, or is it just surrounding the system?
Just surrounding the system.
So inside it's clear?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
If I may, I'd like to use my determination right now.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I guess it's probably easier to just go with my momentum, but
I don't know.
I do have the fascination with the unknown as a value.
I'd allow it.
All right, I'll use that for a crit.
Okay. So you need one more success in order to pass this test.
Okay.
And you get a momentum back. Good stuff. So I too am now going to whisper you something that you would be made aware of.
This is in roll 20.
Yep. And there you go. So, you take some sensor readings, and not only do you discover the whispered content, but you also discover that, the place is alive with multitudes of flora. Again, you're not really picking up any major signs of higher intelligence. It seems to be, for the most part, as the Enthusians say, they just are really good at bioengineering.
Okay, I'd like to spend the momentum I generated to obtain information.
Okay.
And then, would you like me to whisper that back?
I think at this point you can just, do it in open.
Okay. So the repeating signal I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a form of communication?
I'm going to say that it could be. A regular emission pattern like that is either usually a sign of someone trying to communicate, or is a very basic form of sentience.
All right, and then with my studious talent, I can ask a second question.
Mm-hmm.
So, do other objects or technology or buildings, because you said everything is more or less bioengineered,
Mm-hmm.
is that pattern unique to that one source?
At the moment, it does appear to be so, yes.
Okay. And then I guess I'm out of questions then.
Well, you could spend another momentum and ask more questions.
Hmm. Well, I'm not sure what I would ask, so I will refrain.
All right. So, the captain does a few scans of his own, kind of goes, But I don't know, do you say anything to the rest of the away team, or do you save it for the time being?
I I'll pull back to Rochelle and just casually show him my readings,
Okay. So
just
Rochelle,
like off
there,
my tricorder or my pad or whatever.
yeah,
Shows a little bit of gas that the captain's got his tricorder out during a first contact situation. Seems a little bit rude, but he will definitely look at the readings.
I couldn't help myself.
He doesn't say anything. He's just kind of like. No.
So the readings are the very same kind that I whispered to you earlier.
Yeah. Okay. And Rochelle will lean in close, and I got similar readings on the ship, sir, when we first encountered the I forgot their name now, the Anthusian test ship.
Do you think it's a form of life? Sentient life?
My initial thought was that it might be a way for them to move through the eddies because they are more familiar with their system than we are. I hadn't considered the possibility that it might be some sort of life. I mean, we know they do bioengineering.
Okay. Well, we'll continue that when we get to where we're going.
Absolutely, sir. Show is now resisting the urge to pull out his own tricorder and start doing some more invasive scans.
If you were visibly like uncomfortable with not using your tricorder, I'm like, it's fine.
Remember, we're just out of the academy. He does have a focus in Starfleet protocol. This is first contact situation.
Exactly.
It'd be like pulling out your phone and playing Angry Birds during a job interview. Let me tell you, personal experience. Do not do that.
Is that coming from you did that, or you were interviewing someone that did that?
Look, I said what I said.
Oh no!
Oh Lord.
Oh man!
Oh dear.
Oh yeah.
Oh no! Oh.
So, what I will say happens is, even if you're being discreet about it, Rusa will kind of notice you with your tricorder, and she'll just kind of tilt her head to the side and say, "Is that a scanning device?"
Yes, I couldn't help myself. I'm just so curious about how you grow and manufacture everything with biogenetics. We don't really have anything like this, but if you consider it rude, I will put it away.
Oh, no, by all means, scan as much as you like. We have nothing to hide. Isn't that right, Alki?
Sure, he's got his tricorder out.
Yeah. And as she ribs Alki for a response, Alki goes, "Oh, yep, sure, nothing to hide here." And,
That's
Rusa,
not
seems a
suspect.
little.
I'm gonna lean
That's
over
over,
to Ensign Rouge and just kind of whisper, does that seem suspicious to you, or do you think he's just like that?
Honestly, I thought first contact would be a lot, political. This is weird.
Yeah,
From my point of view.
keep your eyes open if you don't mind, Ensign.
Will do.
And Alki is he said he's in charge of the precinct,
He is in charge of the current district that you're in.
the district. Okay, so he's a political figure.
More or less, yeah, but he's definitely not the president that you might have been expecting.
Sure.
I want to radio the ship real quick.
Okay. Who are you calling on the ship?
I'll call Crowley.
Okay.
Commander, this is Matic.
Commander Crowley here. Go ahead.
And I'm kind of doing this kind of like hush hush, doing it kind of like trying to keep it quiet somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Commander, we've just given you a quick little update. We've made contact with someone who's in charge of this district and the scientist that was flying the ship. I don't know why, but things seem strange. Obviously, it's a new culture, so everything's going to be strange to us. If you don't mind just kind of trying to keep some of us updated, like see if their media starts saying anything. We're gonna try to do what we can here, but I don't want a war to break out because some aliens decided to visit this district instead of another district.
All right, understood. I will get people on the sensors and monitoring the media.
All right, Matic out.
All right.
Who's on the bridge right now? That would be good for that role.
I would say probably Hailong at Ops, since she usually replaces Rasho when he goes planet side.
All right. Ensign Lieutenant.
She's a chief.
Chief Hailong.
Yes, sir.
Can we get you monitoring, and whoever else you can as well, monitoring the planet's media? Keywords, phrases, visitors, aliens, dignitaries, diplomats.
At once, sir.
And war.
She kind of frowns a little bit at war, but she nods her head.
And who else would be around for scanning the science officer?
Well, she kind of doubles on the Arcadia. The science position and the ops position are the same, so okay. it would still be her.
Also, if you could try and get scans of the planet, some more detail about it, specifically the location they're in right now, and any issues we may have of beaming them out. I want to find any of that.
Okay. So, she taps at her console a little bit and says, well, the situation doesn't appear to have changed in the transporter department. We should be able to beam them up at any time we so wish. Other than that, it doesn't appear that we have any new additional information that stellar cartography didn't report earlier.
No news of visitors?
Nothing yet. There are some, and I don't know how to flavor this, so I'm basically going to flavor it as it's their equivalent of Twitter. She says that there's some postings on their communication network that suggests that a strange vehicle landed in one of the oh god, I forgot the name of the district. What's the name of the district? In the name of the Anthusians district, but it doesn't appear that there's really any knowledge that you guys have made first contact at this point.
All right. Well, I have someone keep an eye, and we'll keep the away team up to date as well.
Of course, sir. All right. And down on the planet, Alki has finally found his voice. Well, as much as a voice as he has, anyway. And he says, I probably should have said this earlier, but it's my job to keep you all facilitated and entertained until the president can arrive. She's a bit busy, so we have about an hour before she will be here. I think it would be good for you to know that each city, each of our cities is part of a district of a dozen or more cities that is linked under a single administration. Within each of the cities, mostly the corporations and the guilds there have most of the sway. So it should be no surprise that most of our populace is corporation workers. But as you might have seen around town, that's though we may seem professional and strict, we have very rich personal lives. We are very eager to experience new things.
That is quite admirable. You mentioned your president. Is this for a planetary government?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Just curious. On many worlds, we meet cultures who have not yet unified under one government, and so maybe each continent per se might have its own.
Oh no, we've had a unified government for, I think it's been 4 generations at this point.
Well, it might be beneficial if you could catch us up to speed, so that we may learn some basic facts before meeting with your president.
Of course, and we've finally reached my office. Please come inside. And you've come to a 3-story building, which looks to be like it was almost like sung from the wood. It's that skillfully crafted. And the guards will remain outside, kind of at the entrance, but Aoki will take all of you plus Rusa into his office on the 2nd floor. And the interior matches the exterior, kind of a thing. So lots of curves, lots of rather skillful craftsmanship. Mostly of wood, but you're also seeing some ceramic-like structures. The office itself is very spacious. There's basic furniture in there, the equivalent of Anthusian couches and chairs. There's a raised kind of dais with a chair behind it where the district leader, Aoki, goes to sit. But Rusa remains standing kind of off to the side of the desk. And Aoki kind of sighs and says, please, have a seat.
Thank you. I must say, you and your people seem surprisingly comfortable with the arrival of alien peoples to their world.
And Rusa kind of looks at this strange noise that Aoki's making, and she rolls her eyes, and she says, what he means to say is that this will probably make or break his career.
I see.
Oh.
Well, no pressure. But for me personally, first contact is an honor. And we come here with no agenda other than to open a dialogue and begin communication with your people. But if you, as you will find out about us, if you don't want contact with us, if you don't want dialogue with our people, we will respect that.
Rusa looks to Aoki, who still is a nervous wreck, and she just rolls her eyes again and says, well, I can't speak for the president or Aoki here, but I think we're ready to join the galactic community. Obviously, based on seeing the little of your shuttle I did, you are far more technologically advanced than we are. I believe that given time and resources, we would be an adequate member of the community. This federation you spoke of, can you tell me more about it?
Yes, the United Federation of Planets. It is comprised, as the name suggests, of many worlds. I myself am from a world called Trill, Our people are we are a dual species, humanoid and symbiont. Not all Drill have symbionts. I myself do not have one, but a select few do become joined with a symbiont who lives for generations and generations and carries the memories of one host to another, and it is a great honor among my people to be joined. But my crew, as I brought her from many different worlds, my chief engineer, Lieutenant Maddock, is from Earth, and his species is called human. His people are one of the most prolific within Starfleet, our scientific and exploratory agency within our government.
I see. And she points at Ensign Rouge. And what planet is he from?
Hold on. Is this our first time with Ensign Rouge on a mission?
I believe
he's
so.
Cation.
Yeah, he's Cation.
I looked at the captain like, do I speak or do I let you speak?
Oh, speak up, sir.
I'm Cation. It is nice to meet you. I am from, I don't know the world I'm from.
Maybe it's Keisha.
Keisha? I'm from Keisha.
That tracks.
And, yeah.
Huh, fascinating. We have a creature that you remind me of here on Hayaka. It is a small feline that has 6 legs. It has a very pleasant scent to it. But and then she looks at Ujason. She says, "What world do you hail from?" And now we get to the part of the session where I talk to myself.
Yes.
We could take a break.
Yeah. So Ujasa kind of proudly puffs up her chest and says, "I am a Klingon from the Klingon Empire. I am not a member of the Federation, but we are allies." And Rusa just kind of tilts her head to the side and says, "Huh, and you are still a part of their crew?" "Well, yes, we engage in many exchange programs and the like to better understanding between our peoples." "Oh, well, fascinating. I'd love to hear more." And for my sanity's sake, Rusa and Ujasa will kind of go off to the side and start having a excited conversation of their own. So it's at this point that the door of the office opens, and in comes again a very short individual, dressed in what appear to be servant robes, for lack of a better descriptor. You know, very plain, very almost like monk-like robes. And you know, he comes in and he deposits a tray on the desk, and it has 7 glasses and a pitcher of what looks to be a golden liquid. And Aoki kind of nods at the servant and says, "Thank you, that'll be all." And the servant, butler, whatever his actual position is, bows his head and leaves you all to your own devices. And Aoki kind of leans in, pours himself a fairly tall glass, and takes a big old swig. And you can see that as he drinks, that the liquid has a consistency of something like whole milk. So it still, sloshes around like a liquid, but it's very creamy is how I would flavor it.
Okay.
And once he takes a swig and gets his bearings once again, he says, "Nothing like a bit of refreshment to calm the senses. Would you like any?"
Do you mind if I scan it briefly to see if it's compatible with our biology?
I would think that would probably be a good thing to do, yes.
I will do so.
Okay. I'll let you guys have this one again without a roll. your scans reveal that it would be the equivalent of kind of imbuing honey. Obviously, the tricorder can't tell you what it might taste like, or maybe it can. I forget. But you're pretty sure that everyone present should be able to drink whatever it is, no problem.
In the land of milk and honey, I'll take the first sip.
Okay. So it is, if you were to combine apple, raspberry, and a bit of lavender. So it's a very distinct kind of taste. It's not overbearing, though. It is a very smooth taste.
As expected, it is delicious. Thank you.
Of course, of course. And he looks to everyone else in the in his office, and he kind of just waits to see who else would like a glass.
Oh, Jason.
I'll try one.
Jason's gonna hate it.
Rouge will take one.
Okay, one for Rouge.
I'll take one as well.
Okay.
Matic will have one also.
All right.
And it doesn't appear to have any intoxicant effects. It's not like wine.
No, it doesn't appear to be, no.
Okay.
Oh, no more drinking contests.
No, you win those.
So I think that just leaves Rochelle. Rochelle, do you have any?
I think Rochelle will abstain for now.
Okay, fair enough.
Unless, like, is he sorry, what is the gentleman's name?
Alki, A-L-K-E.
Okay, is he, like, looking at Rochelle expectantly, or?
No, he's just kind of looking to see, who wants a glass and who doesn't. He's not, like, forcing it socially upon you. It's just, he's trying to be a good host as best he can.
I appreciate it, but I'm fine for now, thank you.
Of course, of course. And to those of you that would request it, he pours you a glass and hands it over. And as I said earlier, it's a very pleasant taste for most of you. And as you all are kind of, nursing your drinks, Alki kind of sits back in his chair and says, I think the president should be here soon, but is there anything you'd like to know about our culture before she gets here?
Actually, I did have a question. Most species in a first contact situation view that as being a fairly momentous occasion. I'm wondering if there was something specific that the president was doing that delayed her so long.
Oh, well, it just so happened that she was at her daughter's wedding, and this was the soonest she could come.
How rude of us to interrupt.
Oh, no. I'm sure she doesn't mind. This is her job after all.
When we encountered Bruce's craft, was that the pioneer flight of your warp technology?
That is correct. It is the first physical proof of concept ship that we have grown and designed.
Well, I must congratulate you. That is a momentous occasion for any culture.
Well, as Rusa has said, I'm sure our technology pales in comparison to yours.
Perhaps in some ways, but I dare say that your bioengineering is generations ahead of our own.
Well, perhaps, and this will be more a matter you would have to speak with the president about, but perhaps we can come to a beneficial exchange of technologies amongst our people.
Perhaps. I should tell you that one of our most firmly held beliefs is something that we call the Prime Directive. It is a policy of non-interference with other cultures. But yes, it is possible that we would share scientific endeavors with each other over time.
Well, I certainly would enjoy seeing what you have to offer. And then he opens his mouth as if to say something else, and right about then, there's a knock at the door. And he says, come on in. And it happens to be one of the armored Anthusians. And kind of from a speaker in the suit, all of you hear, "Sir, it is time for Thyme's judgment." And Alki kind of nods to the guard, and he stands up and he says, "I know not if the inner workings of our penal system are of any interest to you, but you are welcome to join me if you so wish. Perhaps it will better help you understand the value we place upon our laws and community guidelines."
It would be an honor.
That'd be fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm so worried right now.
Oh, very much so. This is getting horrible, right?
Yeah.
My tail
Well-
slightly puffs out.
I'll set my drink down and, get up, do the Picard maneuver, and get ready to watch whatever they do to criminals.
Okay. Is everyone save Ujesa and Rusa going to be going, or is someone sticking behind?
I'm going to.
Alright.
We drop connection.
Yeah, we might have lost Matic.
No, I'm still here. I just saw Commander was saying something.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say Rouge will stay behind.
Okay, Rouge will stay behind.
I'm going to ask if it's possible I could get an escort to, like, I guess where they do most of the engineering, or like where Russ's ship is, to see if it's possible that I could get some scans, try to look at it some, and just try to learn more about how their ships run, or how this specific ship runs.
Well, I would say that Rusa would be happily able to lead you there herself, so long as you don't mind her jabbering along with Ujesa along the way.
Ensign Risha, would you like to accompany Rusa and Medic?
Absolutely, Captain.
All right. So I believe that makes it Nilan and myself leaving with Arky?
Alki.
Alki. Ugh. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Always split the group.
Yep, always split
Yeah,
the party.
that's how it works.
I think in Star Trek though it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's only D&D that's an issue. Every other game is fine.
We don't have any no-name red shirts, so it should be okay.
Yeah.
No,
We
you
don't have
only-
weapons anyways.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't have any weapons, so
I mean, I do have an engineering toolkit, so
Uh-oh. Plasma torch.
nah, man, that hyperspanner. All right. So, Nalan and Tahan, you are led by Alki out to one of the many open courtyards between buildings. In this particular clearing are three Anthusians. There's one woman, what might be a male teenager, and a man. And the man is protesting with all of his being. He's talking so fast that your universal translators are having trouble keeping up with him. But you get the gist of what he's saying. He's pleading for the life of his wife and his son. And Alki kind of just steps forward into the courtyard just enough that any eyes are upon him. And he will say, mostly for the benefit of you guys rather than for the benefit of those Anthusians who are gathered here. He says, "We Anthusians have a rather strict justice code that all members of society must follow. And it is perhaps..."
This is just like the Edo, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe. As I'm sure you all are aware, we have a very dim view of murderers. Rather than imprisoning, torture, or otherwise physically restricting or harming a murderer, we instead enact a different form of justice. And it is at this point that two armored guards come out of a building nearby and pull the man away from his family and force him to watch as an additional two guards come up and take hold of his family. Each of these guards carry this sinister looking syringe filled with a viscous dark blue liquid.
Oh, jeez.
So unless any of you intervene, the family will be injected with this liquid. And the injection appears to be extremely fast acting. Immediately, the vibrant colors of the Anthusian skin begin to corrupt as these dark, pulsating veins begin to bulge as if seeking release. Their eyes roll back, and the guards release their hold. The family falls to the ground and curl up into balls, but to no avail. Within minutes, they begin wilting away, much like a plant without water, until there's nothing left of them save withered husks half their original size. And it's at this point that the man, Thyme, as you might have gathered, is released, and he rushes over to cradle what's left of his family. And as he sits there lamenting, Alki once again speaks and says, "The deed is done. Let no one question this day that this man has seen the error of his ways." And then Alki will come and rejoin Nalan and Tahan at the edge of the courtyard.
Yeah, I'm doing my best, but I'm visibly distressed.
As am I.
But I was aware as soon as he told us that we were coming to watch something like this that this might happen.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Back on the ship, Crowley
Yeah.
had asked to monitor all media.
Yep.
Did any of that get broadcasted?
No.
Okay.
Did it look painful?
It did look pretty painful.
Okay.
And I know Risho's not there, but just to be clear out of character, the implication was that the man was a criminal and his family was executed for his crimes, yes?
That is correct.
That's my understanding.
Oh, that's
Okay.
fucking terrible.
So
Yes.
we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll teach you to make a mistake.
Apparently.
We need to get a copy of the laws.
Well, it sounds like his mistake was murder, and that's,
Yeah.
Oh well, shit happens.
Yeah.
So to kind of give Nalan and Tahan a moment to gather their thoughts and figure out how to respond to this in character, we'll cut to the other team. Matic, Richaud, and Rouge, you are all taken back to Rusa's ship, and Rusa and Ujesa are more or less gabbing the entire way. Ujesa's going on about how great the Klingon Empire is, and Ujesa's just eating it up like an anthropologist might. But as you finally reach her ship, she pauses and turns to the rest of you and says, "Feel free to scan as much as you like. Just make sure not to activate the ship by accident."
How do I activate the ship?
Well, there's a big blue button in the cockpit. Don't press it.
I'm gonna tell you right now, that's the last thing you want to tell somebody.
She just kind of tilts her head to the side and said, "But why?"
It's a joke, right?
It's
Joke.
some people have impulses where if you tell them not to do something, it makes them want to do it even more.
It's great that he's not one of these people. He doesn't have that impulse issue at all.
For now,
She just kind of...
I'll
Go ahead.
I'll keep away from the big blue button. Is there anything else I should be made aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, but you humans are very strange.
Yeah, we are.
I'm gonna keep an eye on Maddock as much as I can, even though he outranks me.
Okay. I mean, as security officer, it is kind of your job to make sure he doesn't get himself into trouble.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm also going to. So, are we in like a hangar of sorts that have screens? Or are we just kind of like at a landing pad? Like, what's the surrounding?
So your surroundings are the same one that the Wave Rider got set down in. It's a big open area, grassy. It's almost like a park. And Rusa's ship is parked somewhat next to the Wave Rider. And in the time that it's taken you all to go to Aoki's office and come back, several other Enthusians have brought forth some equipment to run their own diagnostics of her ship.
Okay. Does their equipment seem compatible with my equipment?
I would say that would be a daring plus engineering at a difficulty of 3.
Yeah. We have 4 momentum? Question mark.
We have 3 right now.
Okay, so alien engineering technology, would that apply?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Y'all mind if I spend a momentum?
I don't mind.
It should be fine. Is Michelle able to assist, or
Yeah, I'll let you assist. Why not?
definitely don't have any focus that would apply?
So you're gonna need to roll a 1 here, Rochelle.
All right. So what is the what am I rolling? Daring
You'd
plus
be
engineering.
rolling- yeah, daring plus engineering.
All right. Oh.
All right.
Does not look like it.
Unfortunately, when you try to interface with their computer systems or whatever the equivalent would be, your tricoders just aren't able to comprehend the data that's being transmitted back to them. It seems like a bunch of white noise, and I think both of you would be able to gather the same thing, that obviously these computers are. They work on bioneural circuitry on a level that is far more advanced than the gel packs of the Intrepid class.
Okay. I'm going to try to start scanning the ship itself and try to learn more about the engine, see how it works.
Okay. Anything else in particular you're looking from the scan?
I'm trying to see. Do we have scans of the Anthusians?
You would at this point, yeah.
Okay. I want to see the similarity between the organic compounds and the Anthusians.
Okay. For that, I'd like you to roll me a insight plus science. And if you fill in Rochelle on what you're looking for, Rochelle can assist.
Yeah, I'll just kind of tell Rochelle, like, I just want to see the comparison, see the similarities that might be between the organic compounds on the ship and the Enthusians, see if they're from a similar origin, so to speak.
Well, we know the Anthusians aren't native to this planet, so there could be some discrepancies there. There's insight plus science for this?
Mm-hmm. And the difficulty is going to be 3 once again. I would recommend probably spending that more momentum.
Are we going to do that?
Yeah, I guess we need to. Or Rochelle, what's your science? What is
My
it?
science is good. I just don't have any applicable focuses. Like, show's good at tech support, not so much science, like research.
Okay. Okay. So I guess you'll just assist me. No. Would it technically still be alien engineering?
Yeah, I'll allow it.
Okay.
Are you using momentum?
Yeah, I just spent a momentum.
Okay.
All right, so we have one success. We need another one from Rochelle. All right, well,
Coming up.
And if it comes down to it, you can use your determination dice pool.
it's up to you guys. Yeah, because otherwise, you're only going to get but so much.
What are you thinking with regards to this line of questioning?
My thought process is that to see if there is a similarity of origin, see if perhaps the Anthusians may have bioengineered themselves, if that makes any sense. So, like,
That makes sense.
instead of, if the eugenics war would have gone the other way, it would have been the new. I completely forget what they're called. But like Khan and all them, like they would have risen up, but they would have this same and then used humans as something else, So you would have had the eugenics who would have been the dominant race per se, but with a similar origin from humans. And just trying to see if this ship is, along those same lines kind of thing.
It's all just speculation right now, but based on the fact that some genetic engineering definitely seems to be in their purview, I don't think it would be much of a surprise to learn that they enhance themselves as well.
So I would say
We could ask.
Could ask, yeah. Rusa and her team is outside. You could ask, but I'll say with the results of this roll, all you're picking up is that recurring pattern that Richaud and the captain picked up earlier.
I do want to dial in on that and see if I can find, like, is the origin coming from the ship?
It's definitely coming from the ship.
And we're allowed access, like we can walk around the ship freely without...
As long as you don't push the big blue button.
Oh, it's so tempting, though. It's blue and big.
How many other buttons are there?
Oh, there's a lot of other buttons. The big blue button in particular kind of has like this clear plastic covering over it.
I bet it looks like candy, doesn't it?
So it's like I gotta flip this thing open and press it. It's not like oh no, I lost my footing and accidentally hit the button kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. Rashad's going to kind of start to follow the signal to try and figure out if he can narrow down what exactly on the ship is generating it.
Okay. So, the ship's pretty small, but you are able to trace the emission pattern to what you're guessing is the main computer. It is, again, the equivalent of a gel pack that has been tremendously augmented and comes from some point in your future. It is very fast, and it uses organic processes to process information and whatnot.
Can I configure my tricorder to emit the same signal that I'm picking up, and then see if it gets any response?
I would say that since you've got Matic with you there, Matic can assist you on this, but it would be a daring plus engineering roll at a difficulty of 2.
Is computers or sensor operations going to apply as a focus?
I would say it would, yes.
All right, so daring plus engineering?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And Matic can assist on this. That's okay. Risho got all the successes he needed. So between the two of you, you configure your tricorder to emit the same pattern back. And almost immediately, the pattern that's being emitted changes. It changes to a different frequency. Or a different amplitude. You know, the signal definitely has changed in response to your own.
Okay.
As we're looking at this, the other guys who are running diagnostics, I will just kind of want to wave one of them over and then just kind of point out the signal and then be like, I'm not completely sure about it. Talk to Risho about it. And then I want to go back and look at the engine.
Okay. So the crewman or the engineer kind of just looks at Risho expectantly, like, you were curious about this signal.
Yeah, I'm very curious about this particular component. This is the ship's main computer, I take it?
Yes, I believe that would be it. Is it doing something it shouldn't?
I mean, it's very different from our technology. We don't use organic components in this way. Are you able to tell me anything about it? Its manufacture, its function?
Well, I have no problem telling you that it handles most of the greater calculations involved with warp travel, but like the ship itself, it was grown from a particular plant found on this planet that that the process involved injecting and otherwise modifying this planet's genes and whatnot. I know not what the speed of your computer systems are, but this particular one, I believe, is capable of 40 teraflops.
It's fairly impressive. And so, like, the signal here that I'm picking up, is that common to the plant that it was that the computer was grown from as well, or is it unique to this specific computer?
He pulls out what would be his equivalent of a tricorder and runs his own scan. He says, "Oh, you need not worry about that. Every once in a while, these sensor readings appear, but as far as we can tell, they don't really mean anything."
Light bulb. Flashing light.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information. I appreciate it. This is all very new to me, your technology, and it's very interesting.
Yeah. So Matic, before we cut over to Nalan and Tahan again, Matic, you are having fun just scanning the engine. It is, even though it's small, it is, even from a purely aesthetics standpoint, it is a thing of beauty. It is perhaps one of the most elegant ways you've seen of creating a warp field around a vessel, kind of a thing.
Like, is it fully organic? Are they using matter, antimatter? Are they using? Oh no, they're using tricilic. Never mind.
Yeah, it is similar to some technology you've heard and read about in the past, but it's very much like this ship very much slips into subspace, like you would slip on a pair of slippers. In some ways it's more advanced than your own, but it is at the same time not as good as your own technology.
So I would have. Okay, so I'm scanning, sending all the information back up to this ship, and having Alon do like categorize it and check it out, see if there's anything.
Okay. So tell you what, we've been going for close to 2 hours here. Why don't we take a 5-minute bathroom break, and then we'll get into responding to the whole execution thing. So be back in about 5 minutes, guys.
All
All
right.
right.
All right, I'm back.
As am I.
So, question for you, Nolan, since I actually have you here.
Yeah.
Are you going to be here next week as well, or do you not know yet?
Next week I will not, because we have a tech week for the show I'm doing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I'll be like that for the next, I think, like 3 Sundays, because our shows that we have, it's half an hour away from where I live, and the shows start at 2:30, so
I gotcha.
yeah.
Good to know.
Yep.
I do try to design adventures around who I know is going to be here. So,
Right. Makes sense.
all right, well, I hear the captain, and I think I heard Maddox too.
Yeah,
I'm here.
So now we're just waiting on Crowley, I think.
And
Maybe?
Rochelle, I think.
Okay.
Before we jump back in, I'm wondering if any of my values are being challenged by having to sit there and not act.
Talk to me about your values.
So I think 3 come up. The first is everyone deserves a second chance. I think that just means I disagree with how they do it, but that's not necessarily being challenged. Never do what you know is wrong. I think that might be challenged here because for me, sitting back and doing nothing, I know it's wrong, but I know I'm supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one is what's important is how we've lived, which kind of goes hand like the same way. Like, I don't know how I'll respond later, having not done anything.
Yeah, I would say that either of the latter two values would be definitely challenged, and it'll be something that will come up, I think, very shortly in the RP.
Okay.
No, probably not a minor being challenged, I don't think. No.
My inner law student's definitely coming out. Like I'm pulling up old criminal law notes.
All right, well, it's been 5 minutes, so we'll go ahead and resume. Risho and Crowley can pick up.
There's your show.
Oh,
Hey.
show right on time. So Crowley can catch up pretty quickly. So we cut back to Tahan and Nalan, and the execution has literally just finished happening. And Aoki is kind of looking to you guys to seeing what your reaction is.
You get visibly distressed, and I'm going to think carefully before deciding that the best way forward is to inquire as to the history of how they developed this kind of justice system, like how they came to decide this was the way to do it.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm gonna turn to what was the guy's name? Alki that we're with.
Yeah.
Alki, if you don't mind, could I speak to the captain in private for a minute?
Sure. Take all the time you need.
Yes,
Captain,
Counselor.
it may be in our best interest to talk to the guy's name was Thine, you said?
Thyme, yes.
Thine. It may be in our best interest to talk to Thyme. There may be two sides to a story that we don't really know about. Unless that goes against the Prime Directive, I'm thinking it'll be best to get both sides.
Well, at this point, the punishment has already been dealt. If, as a counselor, you wish to help him through his grief, but given how present and recent it is, my instinct is that he might need some time. But you would know better than me in that case. I'm troubled too by what we just saw, but I'm doing my best to deal with the Prime Directive here.
Right.
It's not our place to come in and challenge their entire way of life. However, I think some amount of discussion could be healthy, but I'll do so with great tact if I can.
Right.
It appears that their justice system is one based on deterrence rather than any kind of retribution or rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Possibly.
Yes, go ahead.
Possibly like a reparations, like a victim-oriented theory. I don't know.
Right.
This is a tough situation.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, Jesus.
If you sense that the accused, Time or Thime, would be willing and receiving of your counseling, then feel free to do so. But do keep the Prime Directive very much in mind.
Of course. Yeah, if Time is still there, I'm gonna walk over to him.
Okay. He doesn't really seem to respond to your presence.
could I use the telepath talent I have just to get like surface thoughts off of them?
It is. Yeah, I'll allow it. And I will say that all you're getting from your telepathy is that it's one phrase repeated over and over and over, and it says, "I am sorry."
I'm going to put my hand on his shoulder.
He doesn't seem to react to it.
Then I'll just, I guess, like walk away back to the captain. It's like maybe later, if we're still here, we might want to talk to him if we can.
Understood, counselor. I need to start this dialogue now. Aoki.
Yes.
I don't know if you have a title I'm supposed to be using.
No, Alki's fine.
I'm curious how your people came upon this theory of criminal law. How did you come to decide that this was the way you would enforce your laws?
Well, it's really not my subject of expertise. I only really know what they teach us during our education. If I remember correctly, we once used a rehabilitative justice system, but it was found that rehabilitation did not work, and thus we switched to a what's the word, reparations style system for the victims. Punishment is befit of the crime. So, as you just saw for murder, we enact the same sort of punishment on a individual's family. A thief would have to give back to the community in some way. It really is only the most egregious of crimes that warrant such a severe punishment.
I see. An eye for an eye, as it were. An old Earth saying from one of its older forms of punishment as well. In the matter of frankness, I will tell you, my people currently use a rehabilitation form of objective with our criminal law. It was not always easy or possible to do. There are inherent difficulties with it, but it is difficult to watch punishment like that for me.
I know it must seem strange that after all the wonders you've seen that you would see such a thing among our people, but as I said, the idea behind this was to be completely open with you, as if I understand the situation correctly, future contact between our two species will undoubtedly uncover such things in their own eventuality.
You had the correct instinct. And would it be correct to assume that if you were able to rehabilitate prisoners effectively, that it still might be the way that your society executed its justice?
That would really be a question for the president. I don't really have such the power or the authority to comment on that, unfortunately. And then one of the guards walks over mid-sentence and kind of leans in and whispers to him, and he says, but just as it so happens, the president is here. Please follow me. I'm sure she can fill you in on whatever I've been unable to.
Of course. Please.
And Aoki leads you out of the courtyard and to this anti-grav vehicle convoy that is stopped just outside of his office. And like everything else, these vehicles are biosculpted and organic. They all have dark hues to them, ranging from blues to reds to purples. And more armored Anthusians stand guard as one of them opens up the door of the long, limo-like vehicle containing the president. Inside, you see an Anthusian woman dressed in such a manner that makes Aoki look like he's wearing rags. Even though she's an alien, you very much get the sense she is the main person in charge just looking at her. Her suit like wrappings are extremely well tailored and stick to her like a second skin. And her voice is, it's still feminine, but it is noticeably deeper than a normal female voice would be. So, not like full Doctor Professor Girlfriend from Venture Brothers, but it is still a sort of honey sweet voice, I would say. But she says, "It is a pleasure to finally meet our alien guests. I am President Harpina. Please come join me inside my vehicle so that we may speak in private."
Of course. Is there how much room is there for? Is it all of us?
There's room for you and Nilan, but everyone else is with the ship, as far as
Right.
I know, anyway.
And Monte Rouge and Ujesa
Are with the ship and Rusa, yes.
okay. All right. I'll hold the door open for Neelan.
And I step in.
All right. I follow behind.
All right. So we're gonna do a scene change here. So -1 momentum,
That is the last of our momentum.
and I think by now, Richaud, if this hasn't already occurred to you, I think you messing around would realize that this computer system, this ship itself, is showing forms of sentient life.
Yeah, at this point, Richaud is going to be playing with his tricorder, trying to match the patterns of the signal that's emanating from it, and trying to gauge the reaction, see if he can build like a not a database necessarily, but like build a baseline of how the pattern changes as he can responds, and seeing if he can notice specific. Like he's basically trying to figure out some rudimentary communication, if possible.
I gotcha, and I will apologize for the jet flying overhead. There's nothing I can do about that.
Oh, I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't hit the mute button fast enough.
Oh, it's fine.
So I'll say that you are pretty much every time you change or match the signal, it's almost like a game. You match the signal, the computer changes signals, and it gets to the point where you kind of loop back onto yourself. So you get a sense that a certain signal will cause a certain reaction, but it's not like you've come up with like a full language or otherwise dialogue with this thing.
No, certainly this is not Richaud's forte.
But the main question I do have for you is A, do you let in Maddox since Maddox is still around? And B, do you let the captain and or the ship know?
What is Matic doing as Richaud's playing around here?
Playing with the engine, and every once in a while I look at the big blue button, and then I see Ensign Rouge looking at me very intently.
Don't.
Alright, Richaud's going to approach Matic and kind of glance at the button. Is it just me, or does that look like candy? That thing looks delicious. I want to press that so bad.
Hey, no.
Lieutenant, I'm experiencing some interesting signals from the ship's main computer, and Richaud will go into explaining his process as he's been playing with the signals and getting the bounce back. It definitely feels like the ship is reacting to what I'm doing. I don't know what specifically that means at this point, but really this is all beyond me. I would like to transfer the information to the ship, though, and see if we can get some folks from the science department or Chief Hailong to kind of work, see if they can maybe get an angle on it, because this is really not my forte.
Ujessa being communications, does that mean that she might have a thing to do with languages?
That is an excellent point that I did not think of because she's a Klingon and I'm a
She
racist
does
apparently.
indeed. Yeah, she does indeed. If I remember building her sheet up correctly, she should have a focus for such. And if not the focus, she has the role which specifically reduces the difficulty if it is affected by different languages. And yes, she does have the linguistics focus.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, she's perfect then.
Ensign, why don't you take that to Ujessa, have her look at it. Do go ahead and transfer a copy up to Chief Hailong. I will say don't look very far into it. You gotta remember this is a bioengineered craft. I'm sure that it has some sentience, but like a dog has sentience. It's not. It may not be an evolved creature like ourselves, but we still get brain signals, so it could just be.
Oh,
Oh, Neelan's
yep.
mic.
Neelan, your mic died.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's fixed
Oh.
now. But
Oh. Huh.
anyway, sorry, Matic, you were saying.
It could be. It could just be nothing. It could just be a side effect from being biogenically fucking fuck from being engineered to do with these. I give up.
I'm tired of this motherfucking bioengineering on this motherfucking planet.
No doubt.
Love it.
Looking at all the bioengineered weapons, has Federation already outlawed them by now, or is that another time?
So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, they're definitely outlawed.
Okay, how similar is the bioengineering here to any sort of documentation on bioengineering weaponry or other bioengineering stuff that's been outlawed by the Federation?
Roll me a reason plus engineering at a difficulty of 1.
Reason engineering. I'm assuming alien engineering technology would apply.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
so you get 2 momentum.
Alright.
So
we
you're
gain
gonna
3 momentum.
we get 2.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
2. So best to your knowledge, none of what they're doing is against Federation law. But at the same time, as you're kind of recalling, what you just said, you would maybe think that the Federation would take issue if people started using dogs to fly around in space with.
Right.
But
I mean, if it's
go ahead.
if it's coming from like, oh, there's this plant that's able to generate electromagnetic signal for whatever reason, and then we engineer it to make it large enough to be a ship, like it's still a plant, like
But
it's
it's
a
a plant with
flower of
self-aware.
sort. I mean, it's in the same way a dog's self-aware, but it's not naturally occurring that way.
It doesn't matter if it's naturally occurring or not, though.
Yeah, that's the rub.
We actually having this conversation, or is this out of character?
I'm saying you should have it in character, so let's do it
Okay.
in character.
I'm thinking we should do it in character just because one of my values is I understand technology better than people, so I would very much be like, no, like engineerily speaking and like scientifically speaking, it's not sentient. It was given sentient. Like it's not.
But sir, you are aware of the Enterprise and their operations manager, Commander Data, is an android. He was engineered. Is he not sentient? Do we not afford him the same rights that we would any other member of the Federation?
Well, I mean, you also have to remember he was created by Dr.
Soon.
Okay. Dr. Soon, and I mean, even then, Data had to prove that he was as sentient as us.
But we gave him the chance, correct?
Right. but he was also able to ask for that chance. I don't you unless Ujessa can show that this ship or any of the other bioengineered technology is able to ask for a chance to prove sentience, then I don't really see how it could be considered sentience on a level that we are.
I mean, it might be life, just not as we know it. But no, I understand what you're saying, Lieutenant. It just it popped up, and I would like the opportunity to investigate. I'm not going in with any preconceived notions. That's a lie. Out of character.
Yeah.
I will point out that for show was raised by hippies and is a vegan, and this whole talk dogs.
Isn't everyone in the Federation technically vegan?
Well, they don't keep animals for food purposes, but I'm assuming they still replicate meats and whatnot. Whereas Rochelle is all about salad on the.
Okay, fair enough.
So, funny side note here is that you do also have places like Cisco's, which have seafood and shrimp and things of that nature. So I think,
but it's not coming from a fish farm, right? So
yeah, I
thought they actually said that whenever he went to go visit his dad on one of the episodes, like whenever Benjamin went to go visit the shop, his dad had actually just come back from the fish market.
It'd be a fish market, so there'd be a fishing ship that would go out, but they wouldn't be farming the fish like.
Oh, okay.
There are fish farms nowadays that are terrible.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm not going to go into a bunch of vegan stuff, but Rochelle is vegan, so.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I don't think that the Federation as a whole farms anymore, besides what is necessary for like breads and grain and whatnot.
Yeah.
Definitely not at the stuff we do today in our society. They have become extremely more efficient and much more humane.
Yeah,
that's a racist term.
What would it be? Tromane?
There's not a good. We don't have a good word in our language.
Yeah, there's just really not.
Humanitarian is just kind of a speciest term.
It certainly is. But I mean, I'm sure the universal translator takes care of that for everybody, right?
So we hope.
All right.
Well, it's been commented on, like, in episodes several times. All right, we've gotten distracted.
So Rochelle is going to approach Commander Ujesa. I assume she's still going on about the wonders of the Klingon Empire.
At this point, she's just kind of milling around. You see that Rusa is nearby, but their conversation has come to an end.
Sergeant, is there something... sorry. Sergeant, do you mind looking at something for me?
What is it?
Well, I've been scanning the interior of the ship, and it's pretty fascinating, but I noticed their main computer gives off a repetitive signal. And Michelle was going to start showing her on the tricorder as he's discussing this. Actually, would he have a pad that he could transfer it to? So
if you wanted to bring a pad, sure.
Yeah, sure. Pass her the pad and start transferring the information as he's discussing it so she can see what he's talking about.
So it takes her all of about 30 seconds of looking at the data before she hisses and pulls you off to the side and begins whispering. Where did you get this?
The first time I picked up the signal, it was when we first encountered the ship after it came out of warp. I didn't think anything of it then. I just thought it might be a way for the ship to deal with the eddies, not. But as I've been scanning the ship, and the captain noticed it as well when he was using his tricorder during our tour of the city. Yeah, it's just coming from the main computer. I can show you if you like.
Now she hisses again in that stereotypical Klingon way, and she says, "You should have told me about this immediately. This is the equivalent of someone broadcasting to the dark. Hello, is there anyone out there?"
Well, I immediately regret not coming to you sooner. I do apologize, Sergeant. I was distracted. I didn't consider your position.
She looks at you very questioningly, and she says, "Perhaps it is all the bloodline has gone to your head."
I don't like the bloodline. It doesn't like me.
That much is obvious. Have you informed Commander Crowley or the captain about this yet?
No, I was talking to Lieutenant Maddock, and he suggested bringing it to your attention, and I have sent the signal up to the ship, but I haven't informed the captain yet.
Well, I'll give you a choice, Ensign. Either you can do it, or I will.
I will take that responsibility, Sergeant. Tap his badge. Captain, do you have a moment?
So, Captain,
am I-
you're, like, in the vehicle at this point.
Yes, Risho, I'm with the president now.
With the president now, you say, so she is able to hear what I am saying?
Yes. Sorry, President. Do you mind?
Oh, no, please take your call.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sir, we've encountered some interesting information, and Sergeant Ujesa suggested that I bring it to your attention. I'm not sure, though, how much... I don't want to be rude, but it might be a prime directive concern. So I'm not sure how much you want to broadcast on an open channel, but I definitely need to discuss this with you as soon as possible, sir.
The Anthusians are being very open with us. Go ahead on the open channel.
Understood, sir. So just I've been looking at the ship. It's a fascinating ship, and Russo invited us to investigate it. And I encountered the signal from that you encountered earlier that I encountered on the ship. It is being generated by their craft's main computer, and I've been interacting with it. And according to Sergeant Ujesa, the ship is trying to communicate. It is saying hello.
You've established sentience. Is that correct?
There's definite signs of sentience, yes, sir. Commander Maddock would like us to, verify everything before making assumptions, and I do see the wisdom in that, but all signs point to yes.
I look over at the president, and she's the only Enthusian in the car aside from...
Correct.
What about Alki?
Alki did not join you in the motorcade. As soon as he dropped you off with the president, he basically ran back to his office.
Okay. How is she responding to this open call?
She is responding as well as any politician does. So it looks very calm, looks very composed, and is sort of just waiting with her legs crossed and her hands neatly on her lap.
I'll reply back to Rochelle. Continue your investigations. Do you think the Anthusians were aware that their computer was sentient?
I spoke with one of the techs about it, and it did not seem to be something that he was aware of, no.
All right, well, keep me updated. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir.
I do apologize, President. We've only just arrived and we're still very curious.
No, I certainly see the need for explorers such as yourself to, well, explore. But perhaps we have entered into a specific conversation, if I read the tone of your conversation correctly.
Well, yes. And these are not accusations, but it is a policy among our people not to rely upon the servitude of a sentient creature without its at all. We can cooperate with their consent, and it is possible, given the nature of your technology being biologically engineered, that you may have that this new ship of yours, the I would say the crown jewel of your planet's technology, is the epitome of that in many ways. Perhaps the computer is inadvertently sentient.
she lets there be a very small pause, but a very poignant one. And then she says, I have no problem admitting that our species as a whole relies on constructs that are indeed living in the way that trees and flowers do, but they do not actually live. To the best of my knowledge, the signals you speak of are nothing but random noise.
Well, that is certainly possible, but um, my officers do appear to believe that that random noise may in fact be communication of a sentient life form.
Tell me, does your Federation, does it currently or has it ever have cultivated life forms either as sustenance or as tools?
We have in the past, but we no longer enslave animals for food purposes. And of course, over time we've made mistakes, but when we find ourselves and we make ourselves aware of them, we do everything we can to correct them.
Oh, well, I assure you, we Enthusians take a similar stance. However, I would like to say that should this assemblage of sensor data and signals be sentient in design, we will certainly do our best to work around it. And Alon, you're in the limo. She's full of shit. She knows exactly what's going on.
All right. I will. I'm sorry, I kind of like dropped out for a bit. What were you saying? That I basically knew she was full of shit, basically.
You know that she's more or less lying about the fact that if the ship is sentient, that she'll do something about it. Like
Okay,
this is old hat to her.
Right. I'll just keep to myself to now, and then whenever the captain and I get some time alone, that's anytime soon, I'll tell him.
Okay.
We were also, before you arrived, we witnessed an execution for the crime of murder. And I was discussing with Alki the differences in like the history of criminal justice in our respective societies. Our society takes on a goal of rehabilitation, and it is my understanding that yours once did as well, but abandoned that due to a lack of effectiveness, and have since moved to one of deterrence and reparations. Is that correct?
That is very correct, but I am troubled by the fact that Alki thought that this would be a good thing to show visitors from another world.
Perhaps, but I do understand his motivation. He's been quite open and honest with us, and I respect that, even if we do have differences culturally. I can appreciate honesty, especially when it might not be the most. It certainly wasn't a joyous affair.
I would certainly hope not. As you say, we have switched to a reparations-style justice system for quite some time. I will be the first to admit that it does have its flaws, but at the same time, crime rates have significantly dropped in the present years due to it. I don't know how much Alki told you about our species as a whole, but we are we are both professional in our work and intense in our social lives. And without a stringent set of laws to help balance that, I dare say that some of our people might fall to hedonism.
Are there examples of that in your past?
There are indeed, though mostly from the time of our ancient ancestors.
That reminds me much of one of the cultures within our federation, the Vulcans. Centuries ago, they were a very wild, very emotional, a very violent race. But then one of their intellectual leaders, a man named Surak, began expounding upon the virtues of logic. And today they are almost an entirely logical species with very little emotion on the surface. So yes, great changes do come to cultures over course.
I see. Well, perhaps now that you've brought up the Federation on your own, I did want to ask, what is the process for perhaps joining this Federation? What would it entail?
Well, in the purpose of honesty, it is a long process. It could take over 100 years. But over that time, we would... have I told you yet about the Prime Directive? You'll hear me say this a lot.
I have heard it, but you have not explained what it is.
It is a core tenet of Starfleet in the Federation, that when we meet with other cultures, we have a policy of non-interference. Typically, when a culture reaches your level of sophistication and technology, namely warp capability, that is a good indication that you're ready to make first contact with. At the same time, it is not our goal to come into new worlds and impose our way of life on them or our technology and our thinking. The Vulcans, who I mentioned earlier, have a philosophy, infinite diversity and infinite combinations. If we were to lift you up on our technology immediately, we would be ruining that diversity, and that rather than allowing you to make your own advancements over time. You won't have to do that alone. We can help, and there can be an exchange of ideas and technological, cultural, and otherwise. But it is a long process, and I don't want to tell you anything short of the truth.
No, as you say, honesty is the best policy. I simply ask because I am curious as to whether we should expect future visitors from the heavens, and how many might be coming.
Well, that is an excellent question. As you continue warp flight, you will encounter others. And if we begin visiting your planet, that will also draw attention to you. You live in an area of space known to us as the Shackleton Expanse. This is outside of the borders of our Federation and many of the other major political bodies nearby. As of yet, we do not know of the existence of any other alien peoples other than yourself in this expanse.
I see. Well, our own exploration into space has been somewhat limited, but with the creation of this new ship, I think things will change.
Naturally. And I do have to be honest, not every culture will have as friendly or as honest as a first contact as yours will with mine. And you aren't only meeting our culture. One of my officers is a Klingon from the Klingon Empire. She's a part of a cultural exchange program. And you are also, when you meet her, be making first contact with the Klingon Empire as well. They are our allies, but they do run things very differently than we. And I'm perhaps not the person to tell you what those differences are.
I see. Well, I only really have one question remaining for you, Captain. Will your report to your superiors be favorable about us?
yes and no. I cannot help but view your culture through my own personal lens of ethics and morality. I will, in my report, discuss the differences in the values between our two cultures. We've already discussed your criminal system. That is very different than ours. We do not come here to tell you that you need to change them, but I can tell you that rehabilitation can be effective, and perhaps over time we can show you how to make rehabilitation an effective means of dealing with crime.
So, Nalan, up
Yeah.
until this point, the president has been fairly easy to read, but it's at this bit from the captain that it's almost like she's suddenly giving almost like a cold shoulder. It's very much a cold, steely sort of mindset. And although her physical appearance of calm composure doesn't change, she very much feels as if this is almost like a borderline attack on her way of life, kind of a thing.
Right.
But she's taking it in stride as far as anyone's, not Betazoid concerned.
Right.
Oh yeah, I'm actively going a little bit past the line of what I should, but I think I have to.
If we were close enough, I could have said that to him telepathically, but I don't think I would have anything to write stuff down on, so I'll just keep to myself as far as we keep going.
Okay. So what Harpina will say is, says, yes, perhaps as our two cultures get to know one another, we can exchange ideas, as you say.
Of course. And I understand that the process of growing in contact with the Federation, and you even mentioned it, possibly joining them, it is a slow one. But that is both for your benefit and ours. And I don't mean that in any way of some kind of self-imposed sense of superiority. That's not the case. We really do value that diversity, and we wish for you to continue your society as you see fit. But any changes you make going forward must be of your own and ours.
I see. Well, unfortunately, it seems that our time together has come to an end, as I am required now to go make a report to the word translates on the Universal Translator as Senate, but in reality it's probably more like the Romulan Council. So she says, I must make a report to the council on this matter. So I don't mean to kick you out of my vehicle, but unless you really wish to come along, I think it's probably best for you to leave.
That is agreeable. And then I'll explain the cultural use of a handshake and tell you it was an honor to meet you, ma'am.
And you, likewise. And she does indeed give you a firm handshake.
Okay. And then, I'm perfectly fine with ending the. I could definitely feel some of the.
Okay. So what we'll do is we will cut ahead a little bit so we can get to the end of RP or end of session RP stuff. So what we'll do is we'll say all of you more or less gather back at the Wave Rider. And as you start to go, Rusa will actually come up to Ujesa and give her what looks like a small bonsai tree. And Ujesa will just kind of nod her in thanks and tell her something in Klingon, which surprisingly Rusa actually responds in Klingon in kind. So either Ujesa told her some, or she's just a really good learner. But yeah, unless any of you decide to tarry on the planet, Monday takes the Wave Rider straight back up to the Arcadia.
I'll hail the Wave Rider. Captain, how was your first contact?
I'm hopeful.
That's good to hear. Well, I will make sure that the Wave Rider is cleaned up and ready for use again. And looking forward to your report as well. I would love to meet them whenever we get a chance to.
Well, we don't have to leave system just yet.
Good to hear.
Perhaps you'll get that chance.
Looking forward to it. Probably out.
All right. So this is where we're going to enter into for our new player. Basically, at the end of each session, I give the players, each and every one, a chance to do something with their time. And I usually just do it based on the order in Discord. So, Nalan, what are you going to be doing with your time?
Well, I'm going to, first of all, just pull Captain Dahan aside.
Mm-hmm.
Captain.
Yes, Counselor.
As we were in that vehicle with, gosh, what was her name? Harpina, okay. With President Harpina, I picked up something that the possibility of those ships having sentient life, that she wasn't really going to try and do anything about it.
I was afraid that might be the case, but I don't have the kind of insight you do.
Right. And along with that, your comment about how the rehabilitation, there we go, our rehabilitation system for crimes maybe somewhat being effective over reparation system. She saw it maybe as a personal attack on her culture.
Yes, I was probably a bit too forward there, but it is useful to gauge that response. I think you'll find, Counselor, that's why we first contact with scientists instead of politicians.
I understand that, Captain. Then I just essentially will just go back to my quarters. So.
And strum your ukulele.
Counselor, before you
Yes.
leave, I would like you to add a supplement to my first contact report back to Starfleet.
Of course.
And please list all of the concerns you have.
Yeah.
If you think you haven't, if you think you've written too much, you haven't.
Okay. Of course.
All right. Thank you, Counselor.
All right. So, Nalan, you head back to your quarters to practice your instrument and work on this report.
Yep.
Next up, we have Crowley. You are next up in the list. So, what would Crowley do with his time?
He'd probably spend a little bit going over reports from their away mission.
Mm-hmm.
Just reading over everything. Get a little upset at the execution everyone had to witness. But he'll push through and continue reading. Once he's done that, he will contact Sergeant Ujesa
Mm-hmm.
to take her up on the hand-to-hand combat.
Okay. So the way I did this for Rochelle was I had you just roll a basic daring plus security at a difficulty of 1, and it's opposed with Ujesa's.
Alright.
Rochelle's gonna tap into the holodeck feed and broadcast in the mess hall for the crew.
Okay.
and my focus of hand-to-hand combat applies.
And
Well-
unfortunately, we're not low on replicator rations or anything, so we can't really bet anything. But
I mean, you still have Latinum strips.
Oh, I'm using the wrong sheet. Let me go get my actual sheet. Not Rouge.
And you can also bet holodeck time.
You could do that too.
And
Is that limited?
Nova could always bet dates with him.
Well, we only have the one holodeck, so I
ooh, that is a good point.
is precious.
Oh
Ooh. Ooh. So
Oh, no. I just saw that.
basically what happens is your very first attack towards Ujesa in the holodeck, she not only is able to flip you flat on your back, she does so with such grace and such skillful movements of her body that everyone watching would kind of go, ooh.
As I lay on my back, I just started laughing. I imagine I don't have my uniform top on. It's just like the sparring shirt,
Right?
so she can see that scarred arm.
Okay.
And I reach out my left arm for her to grab to help me up.
And she takes it and helps you up.
Alright. Again, I gotta get this arm stronger, and I hold up my left arm.
As you know, you spar off against one another, she asks, what happened to your arm? I see that you sport a great battle wound.
I found out that when you hear someone say resistance is futile, you're gonna fight as hard as you can.
Ah, then you
Just
have
in
fought
case.
Borg before.
Yeah. Lost an arm. Gotta
Huh.
train a new one now.
That is commendable, but I do not think it has prepared you for this. And right at this, she lunges forward. So let's go ahead and do another opposed daring plus security.
Okay. Oh, I'm just not rolling good.
So it's definitely not as embarrassing as before, but she very quickly gets you in a kind of hold where I forget what it's actually called, where she's got your arms around your back and she's holding them in place, kind of a thing.
Okay.
And she just says, "Well, I can see that if you wish to combat at this level, you will need additional training. I could certainly show you, but you would have to be willing to endure much hardship and trials."
How does determination work?
So, determination is if you have a value that applies to the situation. You can either, on your roll, you can make one of the die count as a 1, so an immediate 2 successes. Or after the roll, you can use determination to re-roll all of the dice. And then there's a third option that I don't quite remember off the top of my head.
There's two more. Make it so, which is you just create an advantage. And then Surge of Activity lets you take an additional.
An additional
Immediately.
action. Okay.
Yeah.
I have 2 that could work. And I don't want to really hurt or anything like that, of course.
Right.
No stranger to violence.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is first to take a hit and the last to leave.
Okay. So what would you like to do with these? What is the task you're attempting to do?
So my arms are behind my back right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to try and get one arm free, and with the other arm, to bring her right down to the ground and get her face into the ground.
Okay. Instead of making this an opposed test, I'm going to say that this will be a daring plus security at a difficulty of 3.
Okay. And so I have one dice that's considered a critical, right?
Mm-hmm. So you only need to roll one more success for you to succeed on this. Which you do.
Yeah.
Yay!
So, You do indeed manage to get an arm free, and as you described, you're able to twist around and do much to Jaisa as you did to her, or as she did to you. And those of you watching in the mess hall begin hastily exchanging bets. And one of the crewmen shouts, "No, no, no! Put 5 Ujesa! I'm sure she's got this." And in the holodeck, Ujesa just kind of laughs and immediately kind of hops to her feet and says, "See, all we had to do was get your warrior blood flowing. Come again." And just for sake of argument, I'll say that you spar with Ujesa for pretty much as long as you wish.
Alright. A good workout, pretty much.
Okay.
Question. So, for race-wise, I'm considered Betazoid for the stats, but for traits, I'm considered both. So, my strength is... I have to hold back a little bit, I guess, just because I don't want to go, all out.
I'd say because it's a Klingon you're facing off with, you're fine. You
I'm
probably
fine?
could go all out and she'd be fine.
Okay. Then yeah. I will, for the rest of the training, I will go all out.
Okay. Do you do anything specifically after that?
I will go visit Otis.
Okay. So you will find the grizzled Andorian probably on deck 3, overseeing the armory at the office. Or armory at the present, sorry.
I page the door, or I guess it's an armor, I can just walk in.
Uh-huh. You can just walk in.
I was like, "Hi, I'm the new XO aboard the ship."
Yes, I remember when you came to introduce yourself earlier.
I just, the captain mentioned I should come down, greet you. Apparently we have something in common, and I still don't have my uniform back on. I have it slung over so it doesn't get all soaked in sweat. I just tap to my left arm.
He just kind of raises an eyebrow and his antenna kind of twists slightly to kind of listen in, quote unquote, a little bit harder.
I was on the USS Dodger at Wolf 359.
Ah, if that's going to be the kind of conversation we're going to have, we're going to have some Andorian whiskey down on the Deck 7 lounge.
Sounds good.
All right. So we'll say that probably takes up the rest of your time with you and Otis comparing Wolf 359 notes over some whiskey. So next up we have Rochelle. Rochelle, what are you up to?
So, at this point, would Rochelle know about the execution that the captain and the counselor witnessed?
I would say that, again, on a small ship like the Arcadia, word travels fast. Like, it's very hard to keep a secret.
Okay.
So you would have at least heard about it in some way, shape, or form.
I also imagine we would have had a debrief.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, yeah. Like an organization or something that does stuff like that. It's weird.
Possibly.
Right, so when Sergeant Ajaysa is free, Rochelle is going to approach her and see about working together to decipher more of the signal from the... I forget what the ship was called.
The Bilboa.
The Bilboa, yeah. And see if they're able to kind of make a case to bring to the captain at some point. And I guess as they're working side by side, he is going to inquire about how she feels about basically losing the XO position.
Well, while I do not enjoy giving up such a prestigious position, I am again an exchange officer. It is my duty to give it up to the new commanding officer.
She'll nod, and yeah, I guess they'll just work together on that, and that's probably all I had an interest in doing.
Okay. I'm going to say that that's probably going to take some time. So that'll probably tie up Ujesa and Rochelle. Next up, we have Matic. Matic, what are you up to?
Are we still in orbit, or have we left already?
I'm pretty sure you're still in orbit.
Okay. I'm going to look at the scans that I've taken of the ship. I want to look at everything we've collected so far. I want to try to figure out just how far along their bioengineering has gone. I want to see the probability, or not probability, but possibility that it could be used against the Federation. I'm just trying to look at data, trying to figure out the most I can about it.
Okay, well, we can work with that. Best of your knowledge, and you'll probably confirm with Alon and some of the other engineers on this. To kind of describe out of character a little bit, so they're basically at the level of the Vidians. So they have really, really good bioengineering. If everything you saw wasn't a good enough indicator, like, these people have extensive knowledge and experience working not only with biogenetic engineering, but they have great skill in medicine and also in life support systems that you would have taken scans of during your time on the Bilboa. But as far as it being used against the Federation, I mean, you again didn't really get good scans of weapons, so it's hard to say.
I also want to do scans of or have someone do scans of the electromagnetic storm. And is this something that's passing through, or is this something that for some reason it's centered here?
That it would be the latter.
Okay, I want to figure out why it's just sitting here then.
Okay. Roll me a reason plus science. And we'll say it's at a difficulty 1.
Reasons.
Okay.
All right.
So your educated guess is that the gravity dynamic between the two suns is what's keeping the electromagnetic eddies kind of anchored here, but that also all of the radiation that the sun's putting off is what's keeping them at bay.
Okay.
But yeah, anything else for Matic before I move on to the captain?
I guess go back to his room and look at some of the data from the Chronoton device.
Okay. Yes, dun dun dun. He kept some information. Okay. So, Captain, it's now your go. What are you up to?
Well, in addition to working on my report, I do think we need to spend some more time here. I want to spend more time with the scientist, Rusa.
Rusa, yes.
And I'm going to ask her if she would like to take a tour of our ship.
Oh, she would love to see a tour of your ship.
And I was kind of holding this in the back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I will, once it's arranged for her to come up, I tell her to just go stand outside of her. She can pick the place,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll ask her: is it okay if we transport you with our technology?
I do not know what this transporter does, but if it will get me on your ship, sure.
All right. I'll go and personally activate the transporter.
Okay.
And beam her onto the transporter pad.
So she's beamed onto the pad in that shimmering blue light, and as it fades away, she looks around in amazement and says, "What? That was amazing. What other wondrous technologies does this ship of yours have?"
Well, I'll show you what I can, but I thought it would be only fair for you to get a sense of what we have as well.
I hope you don't mind, but I brought a notepad. I want to take some notes.
Yeah, you can take any notes of anything. I can show you.
Very good, very good. Please, let's proceed on the tour.
And I give her a basic tour. I don't show her any classified or restricted areas.
Okay.
But I also want to lead the conversation back toward her computer and whether or not she knows that it's sentient.
So when the topic comes up, she simply sighs and says, "There's really no easy way to say this, but there's a stigma on my planet. This sort of signal has been noticed in the past, but those who brought it up were considered animal rights activists. And most of the populace sees them as no more than misguided fools. It is very much our way of life, Captain, to question progress for our species is to question our very way of life."
I'm not suggesting you question progress. I'm suggesting you make it.
She just looks at you attentively.
Willful ignorance is an easy thing to do. It's going to take some more courage for your people to recognize the difficult truths. I can't be the one to do that for your people.
No, you are completely right. I personally don't
However,
think... Oh, go ahead.
if there's anything we can do to help you prove it to your people, we would be happy to help. We can help prove their sentience if it will help.
While I appreciate the offer, Captain, in the days since your arrival here, and this would have been something the crew on the bridge would have picked up in their media surveys. The president has assured everyone that our meeting with you was fruitful and that soon we might be expecting other visitors from the stars.
That is possible.
I do not know that if you were to provide such assistance, if that would be construed as something contrary to Harpina's plans.
What plans?
Well, she's taken the opportunity to increase the budget to produce more warp-capable ships, and she's also calling for basically a brand new age of exploration.
I think I understand. Just because your technology is sentient doesn't mean you have to abandon it ethically. However, you need to figure out a way to communicate with us. Or, I say you need, I'm telling you what I would do. I mean, you can take that how you will. I would try to communicate with it because you never know. It might cooperate. It might agree to help you willingly. But until you do that, you have slaves.
She just nods and she writes in her alien language in her notebook. She says, "You are right. Perhaps I can devote some of our free time into studying this signal a bit more thoroughly."
I don't want to harm your efforts of exploring the galaxy further. It is an admirable goal. It is one we currently share. It's something we are doing actively right now. But I have concern for your own conscience.
She doesn't really say anything to that. She just, again, looks at you in a very inquisitive way.
You don't want there to be a day where you'll have operations to this sentient device.
Yeah,
Because I don't.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't believe you'd be able to pay that price.
No, it is a fair point, and perhaps one that I can use among my fellow scientists.
Now, these things take time. I understand that. Change doesn't happen overnight. Well, I'm sorry. I've professed at you too much. Here, let me show you a replicator.
A replicator?
It's very similar in the technology that we use for our transporter that got you here from the planet's surface. We turn energy directly into matter. Watch.
I would love to see such a thing.
What was the name of that beverage that we have down on the planet?
Well, Wyatt's, and this is where we'll stop the session because I don't have the name of the beverage.
Okay, I put it into the computer and have it make 2 glasses of it.
Okay. And so we'll end the session with both of you sharing a glass to the future of the Anthusian people. So I'm going to end the stream, and then we'll do after stream stuff. So stream, if you're watching, bye-bye.